Welcome back, UniVersus players around the globe. I'm Bear Bryant, joined by the wonderful Tito for this weekend here in Dallas at the Round 3 Regional. And we are now officially on Saturday. It's main event time, and I'm so excited seeing all of the players in this room. We're going to have a keynote section from Levi here, just like we have in the past of these regionals. Tito, what do you think he's going to talk about? Are you excited to hear what he might have to say?
I mean, I'm super excited. I'm hyped for the day and the weekend overall. Yesterday when we went through some of the side events and seeing these players, I think I talked about it a little bit. It definitely gave me a little bit of FOMO where I was like, everybody here seems to be having such a good time. I am super, super hyped, and I'm excited to see what Levi has to show off and talk about.
But before we get into Levi's presentation, we want to catch everybody up in case you missed some of the action yesterday. So we talked about the things going into this event. Specifically, the format has changed slightly. Not only have we had two new challenger decks hit the fold here with the My Hero Academia full, Armor, All Might, Deku being added in, as well as Shigaraki and the new All For One, which we had the pleasure of watching some of those decks yesterday. We have a new ban and errata list. That's right, Reiner Braun, Marley's Shield has been errated, and for everybody at home that isn't aware, he now says if there are 4 or more card types, non-token card types, among cards in your stage, you are now able to transform with that 1 momentum, which I think drastically is going to change the opinion of this deck and this character for a lot of people. And then for everybody, Team Hero 15 on the bottom enhance now says, enhance remove, build 1 foundation with difficulty 4 or less from your discard pile, committed. So slowing down that sort of acceleration, but still being able to grab important foundations.
And yeah, we actually saw the impact of this these 2 erratas yesterday during the side events. I mean, we had 23 teams, so that's what, 69 players.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw a single Reiner Braun
not one
listed among those. However, as we predicted yesterday, we did still see people running Team Hero, right? Not as fast, not as consistent, not as aggressive as it was in the past prior to this errata. However, people still valuing the ability to tutor in that foundation and get it in. Oftentimes, we're seeing it now played defensively so that at the start of their turn, it is readied up. But the card's impact has already been seen. I anticipate we're still going to see that same thing. I think that while I still believe that Reiner Braun is a viable character, I don't anticipate us seeing a lot of those registered for the main event. I do, however, think that we will continue to see Team Hero, just maybe not 4-ofs in every single deck that could play it.
But speaking of what we might see, let's kind of get a peer back through the looking glass of these past events. So here is the Chicago top 16, and we talk about which decks we might see, what we might not see. Of course, the game has changed and evolved. Bans and erratas, characters getting. So this was Titan of Terra era. Reiner Braun obviously winning this with Wub, Calvin Hergal, who ended up winning that one in Chicago against Calvin Tahan. Both of these characters, I think, have very much now disappeared from a lot of the conversations that we're going to be having. But wanted to take a look at it one more time because of characters like Mothra, Divine Moth being here. I think there is a non-zero chance that we see Anim out of those this weekend, and maybe again having another good run with Andrew Porat. These great defensive players coming in here today.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the only character out of this list that we actually will see in top cups potentially is that Mothra. But I also wouldn't be surprised if our top cuts this weekend are completely different and none of these characters are represented.
Yeah, so a little one that's closer to us, of course, is the Las Vegas Regional, which happened from round 2. Now, this one is just going to be a top 8, of course, but Justin Martin taking that entire thing down with Mitchell Cimino, and I think we kind of did see, I kind of posed the question, do you think more people will be playing Mitchell Cimino because it has this recency bias? And there was quite a few of them, at least in that team's competition yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, this is the complete opposite of the last top cut we just looked at, whereas I wouldn't be surprised if all of these characters are represented in top cuts this weekend. I mean, we saw a ton of people still registering that pony list for the events yesterday and playing that. We saw, I think Rodan is going to probably be the most represented deck at this event, and Mitchell's still a great deck. I think that recency bias and people putting in the time to actually learn how to pilot that deck, I do think that we're going to see this represented this weekend.
Yeah, very difficult, of course, to play that deck. Razor-thin margins of, like, playing the game, control style. But we even saw yesterday, and remember, it was ended up in a best-of-1 game that we got to commentate against a King Ghidorah, Emperor of the Cosmos. So, hyper-defensive, wants to play this long game as well, and they just kind of looked at each other, and actually, due to time, it ended up being that way. But we want to talk about the prizing that these players are going to be playing for this weekend, mainly because we have exciting Tekken 8 promos that are going to be handed out today, even though this set has not been released just quite yet. But, of course, we also have our 2 timers. You can go, that are going to be in the room today. So, real quickly, Calvin Tahan, Andrew Porat, and Justin Martin are going to be in this room. Sorry, will be in this room. They're already going to be here, and they have top cuts already. Pricing, though, we're giving out Tekken 8 cards. We're giving out Tekken 8 mats. Of course, the city-focused Dallas deck box and the sleeves, and, of course, that kind of create yourself as a backup pricing as well. But the reason why we want to talk about this is because we have a new set on the horizon. So for everybody, Tekken 8 is coming out here soon, and this weekend, we're going to be able to announce some of the alternate arts that are going to be in, specifically these ultra rares and secret rares.
I'm super excited. I mean, this will be the first time that we see them along with at least that I see them along with everybody else at home, so I cannot wait.
Yeah, I mean, so we're basically just going to say, so make sure you get a hold of your Tekken 8 at August 14th, and if you're going to Gen Con, make sure you keep an eye out as well, because I know they're doing some of the super pre-release kind of things like that going in on that weekend. So, because that's the 2-week mark beforehand. Yep. So you want to make sure you can get your hands on looking at those. Of course, most of all the cards I think are pretty close to being revealed. I don't think we have anything super new ready to go, but if you stick around this weekend, we will be showing off some of those alternate arts. Are you excited for any character in particular right now?
I mean, I'm a water player. I'm really excited for Eddie Gordo.
All right. But I think we're pretty close to getting Levi ready to go. So we're going to send it over to Levi for his keynote.
But before we talk about this regional too much, let's get into what we've been up to the last 4 weeks at our local championships. I've been to those. That's true. You have. Many of you have, in fact. How do I know? I got proof. I got receipts. You guys have been playing your heart outs at these local championships, and it's been really awesome to see you guys traversing local game store to local game store and going after these sweet Tekken promos. Final round, of course, did as they always did, and welcomed Dark Paul back into the fray. But we had some really nice new standouts as well, because Cryptic Gaming landed an awesome jam-packed local championship into the roster this round. And, well, thanks to a little bit of last-minute divine intervention, our honorary 51st local championship also saw quite the pop-off. And so, many rivals have been slain, many UCS invites have been sent out, quite a solid handful of travel vouchers too, and those Huarang playmats, they've hit the table. And this weekend, round 3 is going to be coming to a close. It's been a real fun time, and I have no doubt that you guys are going to give us an amazing send-off this weekend. But round 4 is right around the corner. But before I get into how awesome round 4 is, I've got one little request. AJ, could you go grab me just a little cup of water? Yeah. That's my goat. Guys, I'm gonna need it because I'm getting a little out of breath here. I can feel the oxygen being sucked out of my system right now, almost as if I'm traversing into space. Because round 4 is all about Rebel Frontier, my friends. Yes. Round 4, as you guys know, is going to be adopting a full suite of Rebel Frontier promos. That's from the LGS level all the way to the regionals. And we're going to start off with level 1 here. You can just sit it down on the table right there. Thank you, AJ. We're going to be kicking off round 4 Rebel Frontier promos with a little bit of showcase on our Store Scramble promo. It's time to get into the dojo and get training for battle. Because as we all know, it holds the answer. Yes, joining the fray in your round 4 Store Scrambles here. You're going to get 2 awesome variants of this dojo-themed Akane. All right, well, now that that's out of the way, guys, let's talk about the real ones. It's time for some local championships. Of course, in round 4, we're going to be getting 50 of these bad boys again. But, you know, I jumped the gun a little bit last time, and you already know what you're going to be playing for when it comes to these round 4 local championships. We're going to have a new character here joining the fray on our unarmed non-combatant participation promo. And then our Disarming Blow Top Cut promo is going to put a new spin on one of your favorite tension attacks. Once again, if you missed out on our previous keynote and don't know what that little reboot stamp means, don't fret. It's quite simple. It just means that somewhere out there, this bad boy has a mechanically unique friend, and when it comes to the sake of deck building purposes, you can only have one playset amongst the 2. And then, for the champion of every round 4 local championship, this awesome retro fighting game inspired Rebel Frontier playmat is going to await you. I'm very excited for these local championships. It's, I think I can speak for Hitch and myself both when we say it's very thrilling to see Rebel Frontier not just beloved and latched onto by the UniVersus player base, but also being so represented at the local game store level. The local game store level is one that is going to have a lot of players not familiar with what Rebel Frontier is, or maybe even what UniVersus is. Normally, IPs are a really big draw for these events at the game store level. So this time, I'm going to be counting on you guys, the UniVersus players, to organically grow these local championships and get everyone excited about this fine new world that they're coming into on the Frontier. But there's one more event type here when it comes to round 4. It's time to talk Atlanta. Oh boy, I don't know if you guys are ready. I don't know if you guys are ready for the Atlanta technology, because you know what? We've been in the workshop, we've been in the garage, and we've been getting our learnings on. And every single person that goes and participates in Atlanta, you're gonna get your learnings on too. Yes, the depiction of bros can mean many things. Sometimes it's simply the loving relationship between a father and child. But as long as science is in the building, guys, and as long as you're participating in the round 4 regional in some way, you're gonna be going home with some sweet science bros here. That's not all, though. This is where things are gonna start to differ a little bit, guys. As you know, I've been working on some changes when it comes to how promos are gonna be looking a little bit, especially for next year's program. And given that these Rebel Frontier items are coming in a bit early, you're going to start to see some of those changes. Gone are the days of a top 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, all the way to Kalamazoo type variant. This time, when you head over to Atlanta and you make top 8, you're instead going to walk away with a playset of this top cut card, Bounty Buster. That one might sound a little new, but squint those peepers and take a real good look at it, and prep every single one of your power tokens, because this bad boy is going to pack a punch. But now, what lies in wait for our champion What will the winner of the Atlanta Round 4 Regional walk away with? Well, first things first, you're going to get, dare I say, the most beautiful playmat that Hitch has ever crafted. Oh yeah. We're going out into the slopes. We're getting a little chilly with this awesome one-of-one champion Rin playmat. Now, when you look at this playmat, you might be thinking, wow, that is an awesome piece of art. That is beautiful. But you just, what? Look, don't talk to me, Fairy Tale. All right, let's calm down a little bit. You might be thinking, what an amazing piece of art, and what a waste for it to only be on a playmat. So, the champion of the Round 4 Regional is also going to walk away with a one-of-one champion, a one-of-one champion Rin Alt Art character card. Once again, her art's new, her name's new, but the text on this scary lady is a text box that you guys know all too well. Can you top me off? So the main event, it's looking pretty stacked, guys. I cannot tell a lie. But the origin of Rebel Frontier, the true heart of Rebel Frontier, is in the prize wall. And I'm just gonna let Atlanta's prize wall speak for itself. Typically, it would be against my promo creed, my promo Bible, to have doubled up on a promo so quickly, especially one that already came out this year too. But when Hitch showed me this beautiful, beautiful third piece of art right here, I knew I had to give you guys the best one diff in the game one more time. Atlanta, it's going to be a blast, guys. I'm very, very excited. Round 4's promo suite is really heating up. The prizing is heating up, and I think it's going to be an awesome regional finale to end this program with. All of that Round 4 stuff aside, though, there is one more thing. This one more thing, though, is going to be a little bit different, guys. First of all, this one more thing, it's going to be just for us in the room this weekend. So if you're at home watching the stream right now, this is where I tell you guys sayonara right now. We're going to cut to a quick BRB screen, and when we come back, there's going to be an awesome round 1 of 8 in store for you guys. Very, very, very epic live stream, and we've got the best commentators in the biz ready to rock and roll for you all. Until then,
Welcome back, UniVersus players, and wow, that was a crazy announcement that you guys missed, and I feel bad for you. Anyway, we have a round 1 here at the Dallas Regional at round 3, and although we got to see some cool sneak peeks of the round 4 prize support, that's not what we have to focus on right now. We're going to jump into our round 1 here, and we've got an exciting matchup for you. We talked about some new characters added to the fold here for this format, and boy, how do we have the dream matchup here in this first round. All for One Demon Lord versus Armored All Might, and All for One going first in this matchup. What do you think, Tito?
Yeah, we actually got to see the All for One deck played yesterday on stream. It was piloted by Calvin Sahan. Defensive, momentum focus, chaos. We talked about this yesterday, doing a little bit of that, like, pseudo Amajiki, stuffing it in, using effects and momentum. And then, of course, we have Armored All Might, which I think is going to have a pretty impressive showing this weekend. I think we're going to see plenty of players registered with this deck. It is balanced, kind of playing that mid-range game. It has an inevitability, and it's just on what I think are two of the best symbols in the game right now with Earth and Good. We're seeing the Good deck here. And so I'm excited for this, kicking off our first match with the final battle of All for One and Armored All Might.
Now, I do know the kind of result of this, at least according to the show, so maybe we're already kind of like spoilers on what's going to end up happening here. But I think, like you're kind of saying, a lot more people have a lot of weight on this Armored All Might character because a lot of people seem to be playing it. I mean, +3 damage to your moves, and also, the 1 extra speed as long as you're playing these good symbol attacks. And remember, this also includes your attuned ones. So I'm excited to see what is actually going to be the result of this. But I know a lot of people are favoring that Armored All Might coming into this. But we got Marcus B versus Ozzy P, and we're kicking things off here in round 1 in Dallas.
Yeah, starting off with the staple card in the All for One deck, that finally free, being able to tutor in momentum.
Looking for a build 4, hopefully, on a 4. Does miss it, though, so build 3, pass back, reviews Electric Moth for Ozzy going into his first turn, trying to match, if not create a better build. And, your character's already pretty good at, doing those sort of foundation recycling as long as you have those armor cards. Ooh, I'm glad Good and Evil coming back to the format here. This is a card that I think has been so incredibly powerful, and you got to think of even things like Incredible Display that we've now lost because of rotation, and this being a kind of similar effect, but, on a low block, doesn't check as well, of course, but this card has been around for a very long time. I'm interested to see Marcus's take on the deck versus Calvin's that we saw yesterday, mainly in the sense of attack packages, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing about all of these new momentum chaos cards that we've gained across all AOT and now also with this own deck. So, which ones do you choose to incorporate? Because I am a big fan of things like Combination Salvo that came out of the deck itself, but I feel like not as many people are maybe leaning towards it. But I'm interested to see what Marcus is going to focus on, if we even have an attack at all this turn because of our build 3.
Yeah, I mean, we can see in his hand some of the attacks he has. Right out of the gate, you can see that Monster versus Machine in his hand that I think is going to be the staple card in all of these lists. I mean, here's one we haven't seen, and that differs from the Calvin Sahan list that we saw yesterday. Calvin Sahan's list playing more along the lines of what he was running in his past Chaos lists in the Godzilla, using those Black Abysses.
Oh, I think this is the one that we saw yesterday, the Persistent Malice.
Oh, it might be actually, and we saw we saw the alt art of it yesterday. Okay, so this one is similar to that list that we saw yesterday, at least. Of course,
and I like this one, right? Because it still has the EX, it's good for a late game threat. But it's that new. We were talking about these effects that work in your momentum, and we haven't seen them come out in quite some time, and this is the newest one that we've had for quite some time now. Of course, with Armor of the Wolf, that is what Calvin was focusing on. So of course, if this one deals, if it goes to your momentum, you actually add it face up. But we did trigger that finally free, so we do have at least 1 momentum, and then of course we get to give 1/1 because it's our first attack for the turn with our foundation that's left. We're going to go ahead and press the All for One button, which means the momentum that we did end up getting was pretty good. Or, of course, we're also banking that this is going to connect. It looks like it's not going to, though, with this full block here, and also armor card, by the way. And so it is going to be fully blocked. So if Marcus wants to play a card from his momentum, it's going to be that random one that we got off the top from finally free.
All right, choosing instead to just build out here.
Yeah, just kind of threatening that.
Yep.
that idea. And remember, when you would eventually get to trigger the response, whether you take 5 or more damage or if your opponent ends up taking 5 or more damage, your character will ready anyway. So I kind of like just kind of posturing it. It's not a bad idea coming here from Marcus. But we're going to build out 2 more foundations and a Knott's Flask, which is going to come out with those booze counters, of course. Good mill. You know, remember, it does have unique now, so you can only ever have 1 in your stage. But we pass it back to Ozzy.
Yeah, I also just think that Knott's Flask, considering that All for One for the most part isn't playing, these lists aren't playing a ton of defensive tools, right? They're more aggressive built. So having Knott's Flask to be able to DR one of these attacks.
All right, and then speaking of new attacks added to the fold, this is one of the All Might ones as well. I don't ever remember the name of all of these new ones, but they all have to do with armor. I don't know. Is this the alt one? Or is this the rare? It has an incredibly long name, so I wish you luck. Also, if they end up using the alternate arts, then I don't know those ones. I've actually never seen the alt arts for most of these cards. But of course, because it is a good attack, we are going to get the +1 speed and +3 damage added on to it. We're going to be drawing cards defensively here from the side of Marcus.
All right, this attack is All Might's Armored Punch.
Armored Punch. Yeah, I told you. It's got armor in it.
Yep. This one has a blitz that says this attack gets +X damage. X equals the number of differently named cards in your card pool. Of course, this looks at itself.
I do not have an image for this one. I apologize for everybody at home. Yeah, so yeah, it gets that extra stats. We are Knott's Flasking there. We did hit an attack, though, so no extra booze counter, but still mills cards, gets stuff in your discard pile, which means if we end up taking this straight to the face, we are going to be able to use that all-for-one response. Everybody drawing all their cards, using all these, you know, flip effects from their stage. Oh, wait. I guess did I miss that we milled other stuff? Oh, Inspiring Song. I'm sorry. We missed the Inspiring Song for the -1 to the check on Ozzy's side, and that was the Knott's Flask, and we did not hit an attack, so we did actually get an extra boost counter, which is extra damage or minus damage across the entirety of this game, as long as we make it to those turns.
And then looking into Ozzy's hand, you can see Queen of Monster. I think that card is going to be the most represented card across the days.
Yeah, I guess we could just tell chat. Yeah, we have a fun little, it's a fun bet. There's not for any stakes or anything, but we're going to count how many Queen of the Monsters are played across the entire day, because if we included yesterday, I think we would be probably, at least according to our guesses, we might actually hit things like 100 like over 100 times, based off of just yesterday alone.
So if you hear me get a little bit excited every time I see a Queen of the Monsters, because I took the over. So.
We did take the over. We're not going to say what the line is. I think that's the mysticism of the fun. But I did take the under. So yeah, wish me luck, guys. But that attack did connect, so we did end up taking enough damage, going all the way down to 30, and then we were able to grab a selective attack in our discard pile and add it into our momentum. And I think we did choose that Persistent Malice.
All right, deciding build now after a little bit of a poke.
Yeah, with that -1 to our check, makes sense. Just the build 2 pass, going up to 5 foundations. We're going to take our momentum and run with it. Sending it, sorry, we went down to 28 from taking that. It did have the extra 2. But yeah, so going back to Marcus's turn, we have 5 foundations as well, and that 1 asset. Can we find a way to get through 32? But remember, All Might can be a little sneaky on like having the. You think he has this many resources, but actually, depending on what's left in his hand, and I think if that die is correct, there are 5 cards still in hand, which is kind of crazy to me. 1, 2, 3. What we played. Black Abyss coming down here on a 5. Checks a 3 though. Tried and true here for the momentum-based decks, because you want to stack up all these Black Abysses into your momentum, because they scale with the amount of stats that they give based off of the number of Black Abysses in your momentum.
I actually think that sitting across from an all-for-one, seeing these Black Abysses on the table, and then seeing them just stack up in the momentum is actually one of the scariest parts playing this game. The moment they have 3 Black Abysses, it does just feel like inevitable that you are going to die.
+9/+9 is a lot. And on top of that, which is different than like the Amajikis of the past that used to be playing this card, is after they use all of the momentum enhances, oh, by the way, all for one can then play them, right? And then if the first one connects, we can then respond and then add something else to our momentum and then play a second one. And they do have a meaningful enhance on them when you're actually attacking with them, which is if they deal damage, your next check gets +1, and it's a 5 difficulty, 5 low for 6.
Yeah, we see that Knott's Blast mill and actually put another Black Abyss in his discard pile. So if these attacks hits, you have to imagine that he will tutor that in. And then using the Persistent Malice effect in Momentum that says, after your character's committed response, your opponent's next check gets -2. Which, in this situation, is basically just 2 more speed on this already well-statted.
But remember, when we talked about it yesterday, it can end your opponent's turn as well if you use it defensively, which is very easy to do with All for One because you can just turn your character sideways as long as it's in there. But it makes sense, get the use out of it now, because if we plan on playing that Persistent Malice, we've now gotten the full effect of it right now. And like you said, basically an extra +2 speed. Blocking with the Queen of the Monsters, and remember everybody at home, this does not count as being played, but it looks like it's going to eat up that -2.
Checks a 1 after that -2.
And so we're going to fail that block, which means it's going to connect. And so not only are we going to have +1 to Marcus's next check to play something, but we're going to go ahead and sneak in a second Persistent Malice that ended up in our discard pile from that mill effect on that Knott's Flask or Inspiring Song last turn.
Yeah, Marcus valuing both, as you stated, either offensively or potentially defensively, that -2 to the check.
And the way that All for One ability works as well is that because we did commit All for One, we are allowed to play an attack from our momentum as our next. We can try to play one, but if we play a card from our hand, we kind of lose that inevitability. But right now it is still there, even though the character did get readied. Seems to be we're going to play something from hand. This looks to be a Falling Debris on a 6, and we check to 6 because of the Black Abyss floating +1 after it dealt damage. Falling Debris is actually one of my favorite attacks for these sort of like, I want to generate a large amount of momentum, because its Blitz ability scales and giving +1 speed and +1 damage for each momentum that you have. So we talked about the 3/3 when you have 3 Black Abysses. Well, how about just getting 3/3 right now because we have 3 momentum, and with an incredible Deadlock ability, your opponent has to always be playing around it. High block, breaker 1. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, right out of the gate, we're looking at a 7 high for a 9. And then, of course, Marcus pushing the All for One button once again, and then flipping his second Persistent Malice to give another -2 to Ozzy's check.
Yeah, this is very, very quickly becoming scary for Ozzy. And the other thing, too, is we do have a momentum from the attack that landed, but nothing that we're playing here are these, like, response abilities. So, Good and Evil doesn't currently really have any real text, and even if it did, that's one less readied resource that you have to try and block something. And so not even going for the chump block means that -2 is going to stay for the check. It's still going to connect, though. 9 more damage straight to the face, going down to 13.
Marcus taking a moment, look at his momentum, decide if he wants to play a card from his momentum with that All for One effect, which of course says you can play any card, not just an attack. So if he did have a foundation that he had pulled off of the Finally Free, he could have played that for a build out, but chooses instead
Devour Your Power, I believe, is this one? Yeah, Devour Your Power. This is your, for everybody at home, we're going to say the words Sweeping Dagger, but this is actually just like a different version of that card, but it only copies all of the keyword abilities printed on the removed card. So things like this Queen of the Monsters, it's, you know, not as good as Sweeping Daggers. You can't just grab all the Blitz abilities on it, but you can, however, gain all of the keyword abilities. Now, sadly, there isn't a keyword ability on Queen of the Monsters, but there is on Census O, and it is an EX. And this attack already has Powerful 3. So all of a sudden, you've got a double keyword ability 4 difficulty attack, 4 min for 5, that we can give EX and Powerful on it. And remember, we're a momentum-based deck.
And we also have that -2 to Ozzy's next check.
I'm trying to think already. You know, our opponent is at 13. We do have 3 momentum.
I think,
sadly, we can't get it up to 13 and also have 1 to use for the EX. But we can still threaten lethal in some capacity. There it is. I think we're pressing Powerful twice, maybe? Or EX. We're going to find out with the die. Speed, it looks like. Yeah, the EX2. We used it twice for +4 speed.
So we're looking at 8 mid for 5 currently, which is essentially a 10 mid for 5 because that -2 to Ozzy's check.
Completely committed out, though, due to the check on this Devour Your Power. I'm very interested always wonder what the players are saying to each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Marcus is doing a lot of yapping.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Tito, but when I play, I don't want to tell my opponent anything. I like to crack jokes, and want my opponent to assume that I'm like kind of taking it a little more laid back, because the reality is that I'm, trying my hardest, and I'm trying to, calculate out and plan a couple of moves ahead. But that seems to be the end of the turn. We are going to connect with that last one. That last minus check didn't even matter across the game, aside from just the threat of it. Build 2 more foundations, pass it back to Ozzy, and, Marcus is able to take all 3 of these to momentum as well, kind of replenishing that second hand that he has.
I wonder if the consideration was, in his hand, he currently has a monster versus machine and goes, I do run 6s. Do I just play this on a 6 and hope that I can get there and end this now? Or do I go for the build out?
Choosing not to take any of the momentum, which is kind of crazy. In our momentum-based deck. Oh, but maybe that's why, because here we are. We have absorbed energy
spirit strike.
I said that. Absorbed energy. Yeah, you're right. You nailed it. Thank you for finishing it for me.
Of course.
But yeah, the fact is that if you take that momentum, your absorbed energy spirit strike is actually going to get extra damage from that enhance ability of discarding one out of there. Damage based off of the difficulty of the card. So typically attacks always give you a little bit more, and it does have that incredible block ability, but that's not what we're using for right now. But it's a good symboled card. All Might going to be able to give this a +1/+3, which makes this 4 difficulty attack even scarier. Be a 5 mid for 6 after those enhances come all the way through.
Yeah, Armored All Might. The part of the reason I think that so many players are going to be running this deck is that it just pits stats on these good attacks so well that even though Marcus is still at 28. It is very possible that Armored All Might can just find it between the card draw and the stats he pits on these attacks.
I actually loved all of that just happened. So all the way back, do you remember when Marcus threatened to use the All for One ability, but the Persistent Malice got fully blocked? Mm-hmm. The random card that we got from our finally free was this Genkai's Guidance, which at least all the way to this posturing right now, that being the 1 momentum that we kept for this absorbed energy strike, it means we're only giving away +1 damage. But the way that Marcus played earlier made us assume that it was potentially an attack card of some sort.
Actually, I also think just because you can use the All for One enhance defensively, I think having a Genkai's Guidance in momentum as your safety net at the end is super, super slick.
No, I actually really like that as well. The fact that we got that off the top randomly is pretty incredible.
Yep.
And this absorbed energy strike is in that perfect 6 damage kind of threshold, where Marcus is probably going to feel very comfortable right here using that All for One response after we take that 6 damage. Going to be able to grab anything we want and put it into our momentum. And that's right, the Persistent Malice going in once again to give maybe even a defensive -2 to the check for Ozzy. Queen of the Monsters, number 1 for everybody at home.
Wait a second.
Oh, never mind.
They heard about our wager, and now they're siding with you. He decided, no.
We are at the mercy of Tam, though, on production to see how many different Queen of the Monster decks he wants to give us. But instead, Absorbed Energy Strike is going to come through, which this, to me, is actually probably just the right play.
1,000,000%. I wanted an incredible play. I didn't see the second one in hand, and then so him posturing the Queen of the Monster, pulling it back, I was curious as to what could potentially be better than Queen of the Monster at this point, and this is just better. Taking away that -2 check that he just put in there.
4 damage from that one, like we said, because that is the benefit of the ability. And remember, we're still going to get +1/+3 from the All Might Enhance as well. But you can kind of see both of the players kind of laughing at each other. He's all like, man, I kind of really wanted you to play that Queen of the Monsters because this is much worse for me, at least on Marcus's side.
Yeah, important note too, the All for One enhance that allows response that allows them to tutor in those cards from the discard is a once per turn. So that's already been used. That will not come up again.
Yeah, great mid block here though coming through. That was for 10 damage. So saving 10 damage from Marcus's health here is really important. Of course, we needed that 5 check for that to happen. And so now instead, the first Queen of the Monsters of the day coming in on a 7, checks a 5. So we'll tap our 2. And then we do have a momentum as core, so if we did want to shove something else selectively in, but of course, with our card pool getting a little clouded now, we want to probably just take one of these attacks and build it down.
Yeah, especially after that absorbed energy strike or spirit strike was blocked. It's just taking up space there, building it down, giving it a use. Queen of the Monsters #1 for the stream.
It is #1 for everybody at home. So feel free to follow along. Of course, both Tito and I will not be on every game across this weekend, as Sam will also be involved. But, keep track at home for everybody else. Again, it's only ones that are played. So even if things like Genkai's Guidance do come into play, it was still played, so we are going to count that for the friendly wager. So we are at #1. But again, the +1/+3, which means these Queen of the Monsters are actually for 10 damage in this character. And we were kind of talking about, I was asking you the best deck in the room that might be playing Destructive Heat Ray across the weekend. Again, those are mainly for like the Earth Symbol Armored All Might decks. But, I mean, we have to maybe also ask the question, which deck is playing the best Queen of the Monsters across the weekend? And I think people can make an argument that Armored All Might is really good because they're always for 10.
Yeah, again, when I was talking about this character earlier, the reason I'm so high on it is I just think that Earth and Good, both of those symbols are in such good spots right now that I'll be curious to see which one gets registered more. If we're going to see more of the Armored All Might Good or more of the Armored All Might Earths, but I think both of them are incredibly strong, and I do believe that they run Destructive Heat Ray the best.
And I think it's just one of those things. It's just a card that I think we're going to see ran across all of its symbols. As we play this Census-O on a 6, and because we have that attack card down in our stage, we are allowed to pick that one up, and the next foundation that we play this turn will build down. So keeping that stage a little bit more healthy, of course, and then reusing these attack cards that go down with our Queen of the Monsters. But I was going to touch on the Rodan factor. We have to probably talk about it at some point today, but you have a lot of high hopes for Rodan across this weekend. But that Census-O with the +1/+3 is going to be enough to spell out curtains for Marcus. Game 1 going to Ozzy, even after having to go second that game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about both these decks at some point can pull out a string that is just lethal, even from almost full health. And so I think that I'm curious to see what we do sideboard wise and what Marcus is going to do for All for One, because I don't know what answers he has for stuff like Queen of the Monsters and these string outs.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like I'm thinking of like void attuned stuff, things like Nonagon. Obviously, we want to seal it or get rid of it. Obviously, we see the Genkai's Guidance even in game 1. Like, that is an answer, but it's a pretty hefty tax to your stage if you want to use that just to try and delay this. What we would assume, even Queen of the Monsters feels so good just playing on turn 2, because even if you check a 3 on it while it's on a 6, it's going to buy you back that resource. It's going to be for 10 damage. It's going to be something your opponent has to deal with right away. But it is a different sort of age now where like you want probably answers that you don't have to lose your stage for to try and answer for these attacks, and things like Nonagon, like you do still have to remove it. So what is the weighting of, yes, I'm going to stop you to use the abilities on the card, but man, oh man, I still have to deal with this 5 high for 10.
Yeah, I was actually going to say exactly what you just said about the problem with Genkai's Guidance in a deck like this All for One list is that this All for One list, because of its aggressive nature, is not doing a wide build, building wide turn 1 and turn 2 and waiting to that late game. So it is a big tax on the stage early in the game.
Going back to my other point, Sam was telling me that he actually expects Rodan to see a lot of play across multiple of its symbols. I know we've talked about Void Rodan forever, but like because of things like Queen of the Monsters, there's a real case to play Air Rodan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I am so high on the fact that it will be the #1 registered deck, because there are 2 variants of it that are both viable and meta relevant, right? We have the Void that plays a longer game, a control game. We saw a decent number of those yesterday during the side events and stuff like that. But we also have that Air Rodan, which is again an aggro aggressive deck. So it's the the 2 sides of the character. I think those 2 symbols are also really, really strong in this meta. And so again, I wouldn't be surprised if I still think we're going to see more Voids than we'll see Air.
I would agree.
Yes. But I wouldn't be surprised
because of what we're talking about of answering the Queen of the Monsters.
Correct. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 60-40 split, 70-30 split, something like that.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see the character breakdown for today. So I know our production team is big at work getting that ready for us eventually at some point today. But with over 100 players in the room, I can only imagine that it's going to be a pretty good spread, as it normally is for our game, even with very powerful characters in the game, because there's so much expression that you have in our game of UniVersus, where you can pick a character that you think is just strongly good enough. We talked about like the kind of fringe decks and how they're like, they don't ever even feel like fringe decks. We just use that word because it's maybe the ones that people aren't talking about the most. But even only 1 or 2 or 3 people registering a character that can have a very great performance across a weekend, even if it doesn't necessarily make the top cuts, being right on that sort of like bubble going into it, become a part of the conversation of like, wow, this is doing better than I would have ever have guessed, because again, just nobody is talking about it, and so it just kind of surprises you. And every time you go to an event, I feel like there's a factor of like that where players show up with something that they've been practicing very hard.
Yeah, I think even more so now, considering that, you know, prior to, not only do we get new characters, which is, this is a great first round stream match for us because we see this, and even though we are in our 3rd regional of the Reina Kaiju set, from event to event, because of things like, you know, cards being released and bans and erratas, we have seen it change so much. So how many of these decks and new characters are we going to see, because Reiner is no longer the threat, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's not coming in playing decks to kind of counter that matchup.
But we've got our game 2 underway. Marcus, of course, being able to go first once again after losing that game 1. So another build 3. We did get important finally free build again, but building 3 I think was kind of our biggest weakness of last game. And if Ozzy here is able to get that build 4, which we're guaranteed right here because we just commit our character, maybe even a build 5, it's going to be a big swing here on the stage decisions again, or maybe even more. Looks great. Build 6, passing back to Marcus, holding 1 card in hand. So this is good if Marcus wants to put up any sort of aggressive threat with only 1 card in hand. Not a lot of defensive options for Ozzy to choose for on blocking. But man, oh man, is it risky now, more so than ever than it was last game, because Ozzy is going to be able to play whatever he wants next turn.
Yeah. So looking at this list earlier, as I was trying to figure out, you know, what kind of decks are people going to be bringing to this event, with these new characters, what's the all-for-one deck going to look like? What's the Armor All Might deck going to look like? And trying to find, you know, cards and foundations across the different difficulties. And seeing a Kazuma's Power is one of those cards that I was considering for my personal list, because if you're playing on good, you get access to those really good punches, and it is a 0 diff that has text. So
yeah.
And again, we've got a massive 6 build.
You mean Tekken cards are coming back to play? Well, with the Tekken set's not even out yet, Tito. But you're right. There, of course, you know, My Hero Academia. You know, lots of punches. You know, very large and big moves being thrown at each other. So yeah, I mean, you're just getting that extra incremental battle for these 0 diffs, which is kind of a big deal because we've seen a lot of 0 diffs very much like as more of them rotate and less of them coming out. They're, you know, slim pickings on if you want your 0 diffs to have any sort of relevant text right now. But this Black Abyss is coming down, and we did check a 3 on it, so not looking so good. Kept that finally free up, used it to snag our random momentum, and now some minus damage coming on the side, or speed, sorry, from Ozzy Prez. And, of course, the last card that we had in our hand was a Queen of the Monsters with that incredible low block. No damage dealt on Marcus. The perfect opening hand for Ozzy, I must say.
And Marcus checking that Heat Tackle on that Black Abyss kind of says that the rest of the turn is just going to be a build out. Heat Tackle, a card that we actually saw a decent amount of play yesterday in these lists.
Yeah, great tension move. And remember that one, when you cancel the ability that it would add cards to your opponent's hand, it only seals the attack, which means you've already gotten the tension from it, and you can still use it even while in the middle of that attack sequence on the Heat Tackle, and it doesn't like flip it over like an Aerial Goblin Bolt would.
Mm-hmm.
Another finally free going to be coming down here, as well as a Final Wars, Fearsome Transformation, checking better now. And he's like, man, I'm checking hot now.
Yeah, might as well just go for it.
Nah, but then build 3 afterwards. No dice on that Black Abyss connecting as he passes back to Ozzy, but 1 Queen of the Monsters out of the hand from being blocked with. Oh, I saw it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, bated breath as we stare at the cards getting drawn. Census-O, Queen of the Monsters. And I don't think we have another attack necessary to lead with, but the best thing about Queen of the Monsters is that you don't have to lead with an attack. You can play a foundation, you can build it down if you want.
You are literally in my mind right now. I was about to say what he could actually do here is if he wanted to, he can build a foundation, or he could go ahead and start off with that team hero, then play the Queen of the Monsters, build in the team hero.
Yeah.
Which
Probably just means that we're probably not going to play that Census-O this turn because we want to save that for later on the thing, like a building face down. And, I mean, actually really showing great restraint here from Ozzy. Hey, I'm already so far ahead on the stage. Why don't I just continue with that and build these out, and I'll hold on to these attacks for a great block next turn. Build 3, hold 3, pass. One of the which being that team hero. And like we said with the errata, because those cards come in and built committed, it's actually best to use them, in my opinion, defensively. So whatever tool you wanted to build into your stage, you'll have ready when you go to your next turn.
I also think that Armored All Might is one of the decks that plays Team Hero really, really well. Because we don't have his list in front of me, but I know a lot of the lists are running that Battle Holds the Answer.
Yeah.
Right? Which has that super strong, tenacious ability. So you can build that in, then put it on top of your deck. So it's one of those things where, like, we've seen a lot of people using Team Hero on the defensive side, so that start of their turn, it gets to ready up. However, in decks that are running that Battle Holds the Answer, you can just pop it offensively, put that check on top. It is just like it was pre-errata.
Looking at Marcus's hand, it looks like we have quite a few copies of Persistent Malice in our hand, but those aren't necessarily, I would think, the ones you want to try and like lead with for the pokes. But we're going to go for it anyway. Want to try and generate some momentum. If anything, tax the hand of your opponent. Checking well on this one. As you know, most of these checks for Marcus have not really gone his way, but a little bit better now. Second finally free. Oh, I know we're looking at it. Remember, every attack in this game will now have +1 damage due to the final wars. Just putting it up there to remind everybody. Good job, Marcus. Oh, never mind. Oh, I guess we're using the white one instead. Finally free, I can imagine probably coming in here just to see more options, but that was the fearsome that we had built down. Drawing that extra bonus card. We just kind of jumped the gun as we were moving dice around. But yeah, that's what the ability was. All Might effect coming in. Looks like we're just going to get the draw.
I also, to be completely honest, I know Persistent Malice isn't the one we want to lead with, but because we do have multiples of them, it does have EX on it.
Yeah.
We do have that momentum. And so it is a situation, too, where although now Ozzy has 5 cards in hand, you can just say, all right, well, do you have 2 mid blocks, you know? And just zone check, try to get one of these in momentum. Get one of these to do damage, tutor in something else.
Getting that +1/+1 because this is our first attack for the turn.
All right, choosing to press that all for 1 button if this one, he is able to, if you would like to play that next card from momentum.
And we do have a random one. We could get a second one. We do have the finally free. And this one does connect. No block here from Ozzy, which means there's basically any selection here from Marcus of something that he wants to shove into his momentum. It's going to be a second copy of Persistent Malice. And remember that effect for All for One is still live where we can play something from our momentum, whether it be that Persistent Malice or that random face down.
I mean, considering if you're in Marcus's shoes, you see that first Persistent Malice get through. Do you throw the other one and then potentially have -6 to a check for Ozzy's next turn?
I would say so, which I think is why, and I think this is a great play. The card that we're allowed to play from our momentum, like we're saying, doesn't ever have to always be an attack. It can be anything. So this Fearsome Transformation, which was the random card that we got in, great solidification of building out, but I think actually it's the same idea, whereas because this one connected and because we shoved one in, that potential is still there as long as we take 5 damage first from an ability on Ozzy's, and you know that things like Queen of the Monsters never want to really be played first. They want to be played second and or later. So I think there's a potential where a -6 could come through, but I think -4 at this point in the game is just as strong. And a great build out as well from Marcus with 5 more foundations, being able to hold 2. Remember, your momentum is basically a second hand for this character and still having 2 cards in hand. Great adaptation compared to game 1 at least.
Yeah, and saying, I'm not afraid of deadlock and going to 11 foundations.
11 it is. Haven't seen a deadlock threat, at least from what I can see. I know there's the Urameshis on the other side, but that doesn't have deadlock that we're worried about. It's just for the momentum ability. And we're moving things in. Overdrive, upper cut, one of the new attacks, and this is the nice little promo also that you can pick up here at this regional for the Hero 2 event that has been Hero 2 events, sorry, that have been occurring. And we have more on Sunday, so if you haven't picked them up yet and you're here in the room, you can still get them. But yeah, Overdrive Uppercut. This is you know, the new talk of the town. You know, at least when it comes for meaningful low attacks, not just because of the echo on it, but because it will gain powerful this kind of modal ability of it.
We were talking about deadlock threats. This is one of the downsides to running the good list versus that Earth list, is that on that Earth list you have access to Godzilla versus Violante, which is one of the best deadlocks in the game currently.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And as we're all kind of very aware, you know, there's not a ton of like very high impact deadlock abilities that people are including into their decks anymore. A lot of those have kind of come and gone, or you're very much got to get a little lucky that some of those powerful effects are the ones from past sets that are on your symbols. Just trying to communicate to us a little bit better of, does this have and so yeah, this is showing us that this still has the we gained echo because we wanted to get rid of powerful, and then we did end up shoving that other Vestige card into our momentum because of the effect of Overdrive Uppercut. And remember, that one's on play, which I always think is so fun and nice, because sometimes you will always get that before someone even decides to like cancel the blitz or whatever.
Correct.
So that you can't gain echo, but you still get that momentum just from on play. And again, it also works sorry, it says when you play this attack, so it doesn't work necessarily on block, but exchanging stats, the +1/+3 plus the 1 from the Final Wars, and then we are going to see that Marcus is going to commit all for 1, and we used 1 of the Persistent Malice, just kind of controlling ourselves a little bit more. But we do have double Inspiring Song over on the side of Marcus, so we could even, you said -6, we technically do have it across if we want to. Extra damage.
And I think if you're going to pop that effect this early in the turn, you do just pop 1, because you don't want a situation where you pop all of your minus checks and then they play a 0 diff to clear it. And so just having that 4 later in the string still is a super heads up play. Whereas me, sometimes I get a little excited. I'm just like, yeah, do all the buttons. I'll press all the buttons.
I mean, sometimes it can be turn ending, like we're kind of talking about, right? You said -6 to your check, and all of those effects that we're kind of talking about, they don't have that writer text of like ending or, you know, failing to check is your turn.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes you are allowed to just overload all those effects, and you can actually just force your opponent to end their turn, which is so powerful in a game like UniVersus, where we draw X every single time you go back up to your, you know, your ready phase. And so like being able to control the game in that kind of stand with minus check abilities is one of the benefits of having all of these cards across these symbols.
After these stats, the current line is a 5 low for 10 damage.
And that's the big benefit of this All Might deck, right? We talked about Godzilla, King of the Monsters yesterday, and this All Might deck being very similar. Just as long as you fit in this sort of package that the character wants you to be playing in, these moves that are actually normally only for 5, 6, or 7 are actually for 10.
While also having the benefit of not necessarily needing to fit into that package, because he still just gives stats to every attack. It's just bonus stats if it meets the requirement of having the good symbol.
You get it's 1 damage, right? Or is it the 1/1?
I think Armored All Might is...
I'll look it up.
Yeah. I think it's 2 damage no matter what. We'll double check this.
Yeah, I just don't remember the split on it, because like the
I think this... All
right, 2 damage no matter what.
Yeah, and then 1/1. Yes,
all right.
If it meets the requirement.
There it is.
All right, so he did take that, going down 24 health.
And then Monster versus Machine going into our momentum. And remember, we do have these floating abilities still of the All for One, where the next card that Marcus tries to play is allowed to be from his momentum.
And then if we play that Monster vs. Machine, that of course has that breaker too, along with some of our other check manipulation. There's
choosing not to echo it, I think, is actually pretty good restraint here from Ozzy. Instead, going to play that Good versus Evil, and it's on a 3, and then we checked a 3 because of the minus to our check. So playing around that Persistent Malice is very good. Showing restraint, you don't just because it has echo doesn't mean you got to do it. And instead, just going to build out a couple more and then bank that momentum, which you wouldn't have gotten if you echoed it, aside from the ability of itself.
Yeah, and of course, we're using echo for things like this Overdrive, although it generates itself, but also, more importantly, I think, is these Queen of the Monsters in our deck, where we get to tutor in whatever we want.
Makes it a lot better if you want to open with those
Correct.
Queen of the Monsters, which
Correct.
means you can play around these minus check abilities that are on the side of Marcus if you lead with it, and then make your stage a little bit healthier anyway. Passing back, some good damage done. 24 to 25 on the health totals here as Marcus readies up. Review. Does review a Persistent Malice. He's going to draw 4 more cards for the turn.
And Ozzy, I believe, matching Marcus' stage now with 11 foundations of his own.
Always able to get out, though.
I don't see a lot of gas in Marcus' hand. I think this is just going to be a build out.
Yeah, we did review an attack, right? I always think it's pretty telling when you make that decision. 1, 2, 3. Maybe a 4th. See that tough skin, I think. 0 diffs, pretty low impact at this point, at least in the stage. At this point in the game. So wondering if that block matters a little bit more, but we're going to go ahead and build it. Build 4, maybe more. Remember, depending on how you play with the all-for-one ability, it's essentially like adding 2 cards to your hand.
Yep.
So it looks like we're going to build that extra one on the Knots Flask. Curve a little awkward, but we did check a 3, so we're going to have to tap a couple more. Come in with those 3 booze counters, and the stage growing even more here for Marcus. Passing back to Ozzy. It is Marcus's game to win, already being down 1 game with 21 minutes about left on the clock.
I took a quick peek at Ozzy's hand. You should get that counter ready, because I think we're going to see a few more Queen of the Monsters being played on this turn.
I've got it ready. We're at 2 for everybody at home. We didn't talk about the second one, but it happened, of course.
Yeah.
But thank you for the heads up. Which, you know, in the world could potentially spell the end of Marcus's life total for this game too. But it's up to Marcus to survive a pretty incredible onslaught from Ozzy. We're even already thinking about jumping the gun here on this Urameshis because we do have that momentum that we got last turn. Able to spend probably that Overdrive. Want to always make sure that you have a couple of those in your discard pile so that when you play more copies of Overdrive Upper, picking up the Overdrive Upper, of course, means we're going to be able to play it once again. Checking to see probably if we have a 3rd Overdrive Upper, because I believe that other card in Momentum is just the other one that we put there from the first play of the Overdrive Uppercut.
Again, he does have the option to... It chooses to open up with that Overdrive Uppercut. I did not see another one in his discard pile.
Yeah, so I guess that means we're just going to let this one roll. Nonagon, potentially. That was our new... I always think it's a finally free one, but it is just the Nonagon.
Yep.
Our new...
Rebel Frontier.
Yep. So it has been sealed, which, remember, we would have still gotten the on-play effect first before getting sealed, but because there wasn't an Overdrive Uppercut in our discard pile, nothing is going to change there. No Echo, no Powerful, no nothing on this move. Just a 4 low for 5, but it still got its symbols. So
it'll still wear those stats.
It'll still get the stats. Of course, remember that Final Wars is on the side for Marcus, so everything's going to get +1 damage, even for your opponent. That's the the most controversial part, I think, talking about that card is, yes, you get the draw effect on it when things connect, but you do give +1 damage to all of your opponent's moves as well.
Yeah, Knots Flask, not hitting an attack in that mill, so he will not get another token.
Not get another one? I see what you did there.
My brain started to do it, and I was like, let me pull back. Let me pull back.
There was a I always call back to some. I think this game is very hard to forget. This UniVersus is a very memorable game, at least for me, personally. And there was an event where we were commentating, and every time someone was playing Not the Brave, we would say the entire name of the character, which is Irritable Goblin. So every time, instead of saying, not or Not the Brave, we would say Not the Brave, Irritable Goblin every single time, over and over and over again. And so then when we got to the point where things like Knots Flask would hit the table, we would go, oh, And here we see, we're going to mill 3 here with the Knots Flask, which of course has unique, but, of course also is played in the card for Not the Brave, Irritable Goblet. So we were just sitting here playing not, and then we would still use the word not, N-O-T, in our sentences. So, yeah, it was a mess for sure. But Overdrive Upper is still going on here. We are playing a little back and forth. We did use the -3 damage on that Knots Flask, and we are now pressing the Enhance ability, of course, where Marcus is allowed to play a card from his momentum as his next card this turn.
I wonder if he's debating on whether or not to flip that Persistent Malice as well, or is it just going to wait until a later opportunity later where it becomes a little bit more impactful? Of course, Ozzy currently having his entire stage upright.
Yeah, and remember, we still have those inspiring songs, so Persistent Malice plus potentially the inspiring song. But I wonder, too, if we are looking... Okay, no, we're just going to take it. Yeah, I mean, go ahead and take the 6 damage move. This is probably, again, right in that threshold. You don't want to end up taking like a 10 or a 13 damage move or something like that to then use this response. But going to shove in this Genkai's Guidance. He talked about that little secret tool that we're allowed to use.
Yeah, I was actually wondering what his target was going to be here because I did not see another Persistent Malice in that discard pile. I think Genkai's being the next best defensive tool you could use right here.
5/6. Checks a 5. Gonna have to commit 1 foundation to pass the check. And then the question is, because that ability is still live on All for One, that Genkai's Guidance can be used right now from our momentum. And it looks like we're gonna press the button. Destroying our readied resources instead of our 2 committed ones is very strange. We must really like those 2 face downs. And I don't know what they are. Saw Tam kind of shimmying around the table. I wasn't really sure what was going on for 1 second. But it looks like we've been readjusted. I think we're waiting on a judge call. Thanks, Tam. Appreciate that. Something's happening. I'm going to go back and actually look real quick of what I think it could be. Well, I don't know what it is, but we're going to come back to us anyway while we figure it out real quick as they talk it out. So, again, incredible matchup that we have here in our first round of today. Other people, of course, wrapping up their matches, but, 1 game up right now on the All Might deck, which is kind of speaking to what we've been talking about. This deck is probably going to be pretty well represented this weekend, as we'll find out with the character breakdown later today. But momentum manipulation is not something that we're new to and is very powerful, of course, existing in this deck. Do you think something like All for One has the ability to even make sort of like a top cut run as well? I know we've seen people like Calvin Tahan wanting to play it as well, and we know how good at making top cuts he is.
Yeah, I do believe it has the opportunity. It is very much a deck that kind of you have to have a hot hand, right?
Yeah.
But the potential is always there. That's one of the things I think that Sam mentioned yesterday, where this game is reliant a lot because of the checks and the mechanics of it of a little bit of luck. Right?
Yeah.
And so it all comes down to whether or not you can get a hot run and get the momentum in there and be able to, tutor stuff in with like the finally freeze and get impactful cards. I also think that in an event where I think that Rodan is going to be represented significantly and Pony's going to have a significant presence, these characters that have low health totals, right? And just the amount of stats that All for One can eventually pit once he gets that engine kind of going on these. It is a situation where all it takes is 1.
Well, it's. I mean, even from that game 1, right? We got so close. We got down to single-digit health, at least on the side for Ozzy, because falling debris +X for your momentum. Armor of the Wolf can get basically +X because of the EX and the powerful on it, and every time your opponent passes, you get the extra +1 damage, of course. The Black Abysses +X depending on how many you have in your momentum. So you're right. I mean, again, we talk about characters that don't give stats, but instead are able to do all this other stuff. Well, we now have a second Genkai's Guidance that has appeared into our card pool, and finally now those committed resources got destroyed. It looks like the first one did resolve, as we'll get caught up, of course. I'm going to pull up my communications with them, and so
yeah, I am curious to what the call
was. We will get an update, of course, but from what I understand is I think that first Queen of the Monsters did get Genkai's Guidance, as it ended up in our remove from game pile. And then I think we got good and evil on it. Good versus evil. And then we played a second one. But then we still have a second Queen of the Monsters that has now come here from Ozzy. And remember, everybody, we are still counting them as being played. So this is Queen of the Monsters number 4 in the day. I believe that is what unfolded for everybody at home,
Yes,
even without getting told. So you see the good versus the good and evil
Is now sideways, and it has that response that is
to cancel a responsibility. But we had a second Genkai's guidance that came from Marcus's hand. I would imagine that's the only place it could have come from because we had already used up the momentum used one from Marcus's momentum that he put there on purpose.
Looking at the momentum he has right now, he does choose to pop that persistent malice to give -2 to his next check.
Yep, and the next card that he's allowed to play can be from his momentum. But yeah, we've blown up 6 foundations this turn to try and thwart the Queen of the Monsters plays. There's that once per turn. It looks like it was not an armor card, though, so it's just draw 1. Another Queen of the Monsters.
Another Queen of the Monsters, the Senses Ho. Again, the way that Armored All Might is putting stats on these attacks, 18 health, even with a stage as healthy as that Marcus has, Marcus not having any more draw, so essentially having 2 cards if he uses one from All for One first.
Inspiring Song also coming through here for that extra minus check, and here's where we're going to see that -4 probably come across the board if we do press the other one. But you're right. I mean, the thing is, if you don't have these high blocks, I mean, you are taking 5 damage every single time you touch one of these Queen of the Monsters. Nice. This is a Yusuke Foundation where you destroy it, you sacrifice it, and you discard a card, and it gives +3/+3 or something like that. I think is the stats that it gives. Hence why you're announcing this Queen of the Monsters, which I have done a very poor job of pulling up the cards.
I do wonder if the play here is actually you copy these Inspiring Songs, you are now make the check -2. You've used the All for One, you press the All for One button. We do know that I believe we know that he has a Monster vs. Machine in that momentum. So
Yeah.
if he did want to, he could half block and give what is essentially Breaker 6 on this next card because of the Breaker 2 and the -4 to the check.
Yeah, still taking a lot of damage for it. So I also wonder if there would just be a high block somewhere in our momentum. We know there's Persistent Mountains, like you said, and then the monster. So do we have a high block is really my question.
Yeah.
Where are the high blocks? How many attacks do we play? And I think that's also a very good thing for All for One. It's like you want your attacks to have a spread on good blocks because you're able to selectively put them there and then use them to block with. But it looks like it's going to be that Monster versus Machine that you were talking about because I believe that's exactly where we put it. There it is. So 8 speed move, 2 cards in the card pool, 10 plus the block modifier. So on a 12, right? Or is it +1?
It's +2. Yep. Checks out
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? And one more. Unless I was wrong on the block mod.
Oh no, it's a 1 mid. I believe.
1 mid.
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
1
Okay.
mid. 1 mid. 1 mid.
So 11. Checks a 5 on it, and it was basically unfailable. And with that Breaker 2, like you said, it's going to be essentially -6 to Ozzy's next card. But that's the worst part about when you use effects and you stack them up like this. Ozzy has the ability to just like weave in a foundation here.
But even weaving in a foundation with Breaker 6, you know,
It's still a lot.
It's still a
yes.
lot. I mean, if he checks a 3
1,
on
2,
this 2,
effectively an 8 for everybody if you want to do the math. So look at that check. So we need 3 foundations here to pass this. There it is. It passes. And now we can continue with Ozzy's turn. And remember, Marcus, because of that half block, is down to 10. That is a single move in this deck that we have seen time and time again. Not this one, but Senses Ho on a 4, 5, 6. Checking the 3 here. So the minus checks still kind of, doing their job, right? Of having to force the foundation to come in, still commit some foundations. Then you play the attack on a 6, have to commit more foundations. As long as one bad check came through there, I think Marcus, we're going to feel a little bit better about it.
I am curious as to after watching him, after watching the stats that he was able to hit on that last Queen of the Monster, Marcus only having 2 foundations up. I wonder why the line to go with the Census Hoe and not the other Queen of the Monsters in hand.
Afraid of... No, I guess you're right. It's just commit 1 more foundation. Keep All Might up. That attack would be for 10 still. So we got to do some math. So this is for 4, 5 because of the Final Wars. 6, 7, 8 because of All Might. And we have only destroyed 1 foundation in our stage. So the team hero is actually only giving 1. I think we're at 9. 1 off lethal. Unless I've missed a destruction effect somewhere. See you looking. I see you cooking a line right now over here. I know you're not. Everyone at home can't see it, but I'm like, I saw what you looked up, and I was like, that's pretty smart. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. We had mentioned the battle hold the answer earlier. I was just trying to see because we haven't seen that team hero do anything since it's been put on the table.
Correct.
And so I was curious.
It gave it damage. I think.
I gave it damage. Sure. Yes. But I was curious as to what the target for that was in this deck list. 'Cause I also am not sure I've seen a battle holds the answer get checked. So
I think I saw one get blocked.
okay.
I think I did, or maybe that was last game. So
Sure.
I might be a little
Sure.
off. There's a billion cards in this game.
Yeah.
But I did see a Street Fighter Ryu-esque
Sure.
battle holds the answers card appear in a discard pile at some point. So I think you are correct on this existing in this deck. But this one only being sent for 8. Knocking all for 1 down to 2. Remember the next foundation we play, this 0 diff is perfect, especially when you check the 3 here. This means that we can play this Queen of the Monsters here on an 8. We need a 5.
Checks the 5.
Tap 3 foundations here. Although All Might getting committed here, can we block this move? 3 cards in Marcus's card pool, only 2 foundations ready. A half block will not do it. It must be a full block. We're still going to be able to build down this foundation, of course, with or build the attack down, I should say, as a foundation. With the Queen of the Monsters, 4 high for 7.
Essentially a 7 high with a 3.
1 high block would be on an 8. Got to check a 1 or check a 6. My bad. With a 1 high block.
Yeah.
You know, that's just me being realistic on that. But it's looking pretty dire. Marcus shaking his head. This could be the end of round 1 for Marcus here. Do we have a 1 high block? No, it's a 2. It's going to be on an impossible check. I don't know 7 checks in this game, and with the 5 check anyway, it was not enough. Game 2 in the match. Going to Ozzy Perez. Sorry, going to Ozzy. I think it's his last name. I can't remember. Armored All Might. 2-0. Yeah. Going second both games. Incredible performance.
Yeah, getting the canonical ending of, all for 1 being taken down in this final battle.
Well, that's not how the show went. Kind of. Well, All Might did his job. He slowed him down. Spoilers. Sorry for everybody that hasn't watched the show or read the book, the manga. But Ozzy taking it down here with that round 1 win here on All Might. Good guys always win, Tito. Good guys always win. And I forgot to add 1 more to the count. So 5 from that first round here on stream. So currently not on the pace that you need it to be.
I think we were actually 1 off on the pace.
Yeah, the pace is 1 off at least currently on that sense. But we could always, of course, see some riveting action here in that round 1. We do have some stuff that we want to talk about, of course. So we're not going anywhere right now. We have some post-match shenanigans and to unfold. Tam is going to round up our winner real quick and do a post-game interview. But
while we're here, why don't we talk about some of the things that Levi showed off earlier in the form of those round 4
We got those
promos.
queued up? I think we do. It says it for me that we do. Hey, yeah, here we go. Great job. Yeah, awesome. There it is. That battle holds the answer is going to be the Store Scramble promo with a victory variation of it. Of course, this is for round 4, which is going to be entirely Rebel Frontier focused. So Store Scramble is going to have that battle for the answers. Local championships, which start in August 2nd through October 25th. Unarmed non-combatant and disarming blow. And yes, you want to keep an eye out for that reboot sticker, of course, because it represents that this has another version of this card in standard. And no, you cannot play 8 copies of them because of it. It means that it shares with a mechanically unique card. And this one is Heat Tackle, which we know is a good and very well played card. And then the regional itself, We've got participation promos on the Science Bros. We've got Bounty Buster for your top 8, and you will get a full play set if you end up making top 8 or higher. And then, yes, that's right, Levi did announce this 1-of-1 Rin Kubo Space Pirate, which is Mikasa Hizuru's hope here in this 1-of-1 for the champion of that regional. But it looks like Tam does have our winner on standby for an interview, so we're going to go ahead and send it over to him.
I was up at like 11, 12 o'clock trying to get this deck ready.
Championships have been won on even later bedtimes than that. Why the switch, if I could ask?
Pete just wasn't doing it for me. I was playing her all day yesterday, and she had either no stage or face down stage, and so I was like, no. So I had to switch to this one.
Yeah, imagine destroying your stage for +3 damage. Couldn't be us.
Yeah,
Not today,
no.
at least. I want to talk about that last kill turn. Holy cow. You had to fight through Genkai's, Breaker 2, and I think another -2 to the check from the Momentum card,
Yeah.
and you still got it done. He went from essentially full all the way down. Queen of Monsters is a pretty good card, yeah?
Oh, yeah, very good. I kind of misplayed on the first overdrive. I didn't have a vestige in the discard to actually snap that other momentum. So it would have gave me 2, but I got it through the good and evil. Still had 1. Was able to cancel one of those Genkais.
Yeah, I mean, wow. It's incredibly, like, just proving the plot, showcasing the story of the show.
I was gonna pull the brakes on it too, and then I was like, actually, I think I have this. He was
Check
pretty
the
low.
5. We checked the 5
Yeah,
and you
I'm
win
gonna
the
check the 5, I got
game.
it.
Easy, simple. With that though, man, any shout outs you want to give before we get out of here?
Stormcrow Games, local store, bunch of the team that I'm here with. They let me borrow a bunch of the cards last minute since I didn't have any of my commons or any of that stuff to throw this together. Let's Talk UVS. They're huge.
Thanks, man.
All of the content creators here. I watch all of you guys. So, yeah,
Well,
thank you.
good luck in the later rounds. I'm going to throw it back to my casters so they can finish giving out the rest of the cool stuff that was previewed.
Yeah, thank you.
Tam and Ozzy, congratulations on that round 1 win, and look forward to you having a great run as well. I don't remember the exact amount of rounds that we have. I believe it is 6, maybe 7.
I think it might be 8.
8 rounds.
Yeah.
Thank you, production. That's a lot of rounds. But, you know, we're going to be here all day with that action. We want to go back to some of the stuff that we were talking about before the interview. We had all of the Rebel Frontier stuff going into the actual regional itself, but I don't think that slide represented the prize wall ones. So I don't know if we have a slide for it, but you wrote them down, right? So you remember? I did. Okay.
I mean, I think that slide did have. I think some of those were the prize wall ones.
Well, for the prize wall one, I have Massive Mute Machine is also getting a.
You're right. I have them right here. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Go ahead.
Yes. So there's Encelada's E613, which is another one of those cards that is reboot, and that is actually a Massive Mutant Machine reboot. We also have Guardian Angel of Chinatown.
Nice.
We have Inspiring Song. I know we already got a promo out of the Critical Role set of Inspiring Song. However, we're getting another one. And we have a Hunter's Ally. This is one of those this is one of the rare situations where I looked at everything they announced. And while I love promo cards, I love getting new arts. This is the first time I looked at and go, wow, they didn't miss.
Yeah, like every
single card is playable, great. The art looks incredible. And so I'm super excited. I have to figure out a way to convince my wife to let me go to that event as well, so I can get my hands on some of those cards. And so I am hyped.
Excellent. And of course, a lot of this stuff will be on official social media, so make sure you can keep an eye out on the photos when things get actually revealed for that round 4 that's happening in Atlanta, which is our last regional for this year in this competitive organized play season. I believe we've got some alternate art stuff that we want to show off. Just checking. as we have promised that to you, to people. Of course, you will get them no matter what. It just depends on whenever we're ready to have those slides to show off. And it's a slow burn. You know, you get a couple every now and then.
Yeah,
and
you
so,
want to give it a tease, a little bit of a tease.
So remember, a lot of these are cards that are most of all of these. If you've been paying attention to the reveal season, Tempest, Demon, God Fist, White Angel of Death, and Catching a Meteor. And these alternate art versions are very similar to the Critical Role, sort of like, you know, let's change the hues and, you know, the sort of shading that's going on here and having more accents on sort of the attacks and the colors themselves or the cards. Catching a Meteor, of course, you know, Foundation, White Angel of Death, and the Tempest God Demon Fist are attacks, but they've got these different colors associated with them.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of, you know, like the TMNT chromes that we got.
Yeah,
where it was mostly this, like, you know, kind of great background with that color hue up in front. Obviously, this is more color than those has, but I love the way these look. I'm super excited. And this is one of those. The beauty of this game is that literally the different art styles and different art treatments, if somebody walked by, they could not tell you that they were all from the same game. And so that gets me excited. I'm excited for, you know, for these alt arts.
But with multiple IPs coming up, of course, that is just exactly the kind of take, like you said. But you can check out the Tekken 8 set that you can pick up is releasing on August 14th. And of course, if you're going to Gen Con, you can also check out the super pre-release that is going to be happening there. And I believe those events do exist online, so you can go and sign up for those. I know I'll be there, so I'm excited to see some of your exciting faces.
I'll be there as well. Just come up and say hi.
Perfect. But our round 2 is getting paired right now, so we are going to cut away to a short break. Don't go anywhere for round 2 here in Dallas at the round 3 regional.
See you soon. All right, welcome back to this round 2 action here at the UniVersus Round 3 Regional in Dallas. I'm being joined by Sam Tate on the commentary desk. Barry had to step out for a minute. And we've got a match I'm really, really excited for coming up right now. We've got Justin M on Puma Order and Jeremy J on Rodan Void. These are both decks that I talked about yesterday about being kind of high on them. Obviously, I believe Rodan will be the most registered deck. We don't have that info yet, but I'm still sticking to that prediction. And I think Puma has a space in this meta. And it's no surprise that somebody like Justin, who is used to kind of that like controlly order decks, a deck that I believe takes a lot of reps to, and not anybody can just pick up and play, that he's going to be on that one. We do have the Rodan going first. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
So this matchup I think is really tough because if there's any character that can produce the one big attack that Rodans fear the most, especially post barrier shield rotation, it's definitely Massive Mutant Machine decks.
Right.
You know, Pumat Soul being able to just drop in the Massive Mutant Machine is incredibly scary all the time, and especially now that we're no longer under open deck lists, it wouldn't surprise me that much if Justin is flexing some kind of different game plan where it's not necessarily all in on build Massive Mutant Machine. But I will say the thing that's the most scary is I've not seen anyone as attracted to the order symbol as Justin Martin.
Yeah, correct.
You know, so he just won a regional off the back of the order symbol, and now he's playing it again, this time with some really nice cards from the new Challenger Series decks. So it'll be very interesting to see a character that was very popular throughout the LC season, but did not convert at the first 2 regionals, now being played by a player who won the most recent regional.
Yeah, I actually got a chance to talk to Justin last night, kind of ask him about his thoughts going into this weekend and whether or not he feels any pressure from being the reigning regional champ. You know, he finally got over that hump in Las Vegas. It was one of these things where, speaking to him, he said it was like a weight off of his shoulders. And actually, because he was a little bit under the weather due to, well, you know, allergies and stuff in Vegas, that he believes that actually helped him because he just wasn't as stressed. Mine was, you know, kind of just in a zen state. And coming into this, because he's already won one, he is just relaxed, here to have fun, and he thinks that that's actually going to work out to his benefit.
Yeah, typically once you get the monkey off your back, you feel a little more freedom. You have that confidence to be creative. You know, a lot of times when it comes to learning any new skill, learning anything, especially competitive, you start with the basics, you grow to the advanced techniques, but then once you achieve a certain level, the real peak is the ability to become creative. And I've experienced this recently with a lot of different games that have ranking systems. Typically what you see is people do the most competitive thing, the most well-known thing, the agreed upon best idea up until you hit that maximum rank. And then what do people immediately do? They start doing all the goofy stuff. They start doing all the fun stuff. They start doing all their favorite little tricks and seeing if they can make their fun pet idea work. And so I think once you win a regional, you kind of hit that upper echelon and you go, okay, now that I've done, you know, now they've proved what I can do competitively, what can I do creatively? And speaking of creative, we have this Bug Bite coming down as the first attack, low risk, 3 difficulty, can't fail it, and you can stack a card on top of your deck that Botan's coaching can go and draw. Sounds pretty good to me, and it sounds pretty good to Jeremy as well, and that's why we're going to hit this Filled Without, sealing the attack. Bug Bite no longer has any abilities. It can no longer blitz to add a card to the top of the deck, which, honestly, if I'm Justin, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, and, you know, going into our turn 2 second player, we see that Jeremy, turn 1 and turn 2, decides to building out a wide stage and a wall already on this Rodan symbol, something that we saw a lot of yesterday.
Yeah, so it looks like Inspiring Song is going to be used here, Mill 3, and now we are deciding a player to get a check bonus or hack. They put the check out there, but I guess he chose himself because it's pointing towards himself.
Yeah, I mean, Inspiring Song does say that you don't have to make a decision on the +1 or -1 until the check actually happens. You do have to choose somebody.
The player.
So I'm with you. I think he has chosen himself.
Yeah, typically you know via which player was chosen anyhow. So if he chose himself, it's very unlikely that he's going to minus his own check. But you're right. Theoretically, technically speaking, you choose a player and then you choose plus or minus when the check is made, which is just very different from any other card. But we do have, okay, we've got the I cannot remember the name. Battle for Dominance. The one diff, we were going to remove a card from our card pool. We're going to get to draw a card. We also have a massive glare on the screen over the discard pile, but it looks like there was a supersonic flight there that we're going to get to draw off of with Rodan as well. So a lot of card draw coming in for Rodan.
And the Science Bros enhance off of removing a card.
Oh, yes. The Science Bros response, once we remove a card, we get to commit and draw as well. So block will be coming down. Now we've got the Blood-Sucking Universe looking very similar to the Order Symbol decks, all of round 1 and 2 regionals. Get the +1 to the check so we don't have to commit anything. And now it's going to be up to Rodan to see if we can seal this attack and prevent that tension from adding a Roman cancel to our momentum.
Yeah, I didn't see another Fill with Doubt in hand. I don't see anything on the board. I think the deliberation right now that he's thinking is whether or not... Oh, there is an Armorclad Fleet.
Yeah, Armorclad
I
Fleet
see.
could get
Yes.
rid of tension or throw. I don't know which one's better for Rodan. Typically, Rodans want to keep that health total as high as possible throughout the entire game, and throws are their natural predators. But Roman cancels are also really strong.
Flipping over that second Battle for Dominance to clear that card, draw another one.
Rodan -3 speed coming in, even on the throws, making it as easy as possible to block.
Yeah, and I'm assuming because he did not pick up a Roman cancel, he did choose to remove
Get
that
rid of
with Armorclad Fleet.
Yeah.
The tension. We have that substitute member coming in, basically saying that even with the speed pump, we can always set it back down to 3 or set it back up on our offensive turns.
Yep, walking away with 1 momentum and a little bit of damage here. Rodan down to 18 health.
Also interesting, we didn't see any Pumont responses.
Yeah, I
on that
think
line.
Pumat's I think they press that button a little too often. They feel like they have to use them once per turn every turn that they play an attack card. And while it is generally fine to do so, I've definitely found myself discarding an OK card and drawing 2 cards.
Yeah,
I'd like less
sure.
than that one. So
Yeah. I guess Justin enjoyed or liked what he had in hand already, didn't feel the need to dig for anything else.
yeah, and again, it's tough because you're just trying to replace the card that you already played, and sometimes, you've already drawn the cards that you need. And we got Violent Animus Shot coming in on the side of Rodan here. Nasty little attack. Normally it's best mode is to snipe backups, but just as a general all-purpose 4 high for 5, if it deals damage, Rebel's going to remove a random card from their hand.
Yeah, also has Breaker 1 on it, so also a defensive tool that you can have. All right, this is currently an 8 high for 6.
Yep, getting the 3 speed from Rodan combined with the 1/1 from Science Bros, making this a very obnoxious threat to deal with.
Okay, looks like Justin's just going to take the 6 damage, and now with that Violent Animus Shot response, after this attack deals damage, rival removes 1 random card from their hand.
Got a pristine sword play out of there, so that's got to feel pretty good if you're Rodan, and why not try it again?
Checks a 3 on this one, has to commit 2. Still has a very healthy stage. Removing that card for the speed bonus from Rodan and then responding with the Science Bros. This Violent Animus Shot is now a 6 high for 6. Justin choosing to half block with that Monster vs. Machine, not risking that getting removed from his hand and taking advantage of the Breaker 2 on it right now.
Yeah, it was a bold move to take the first one, but 1 in 3 chance, and we're gonna lose a Blood-Sucking Universe here. Might as well use it with Pumont before it gets removed with the Violent Animus, so that makes sense to me. But that's a really high quality hand that Jeremy just got rid of from Justin. I mean, if you look back to the turn before, Justin had pristine blood-sucking monster versus machine bug bite, so a really aggressive hand. But makes sense why he didn't want to get rid of any of those cards, because Puma is one of the greedier decks. You can kind of find a kill from almost any position if you have the right cards,
Correct.
and those are a lot of the right cards.
Yeah, and then of course, Monster vs. Machine being part of the reason that I think Puma is so strong, because you get to block, get that breaker 2, and then respond Puma for essentially a better breaker 2 by having your opponent commit 2 more foundations. And again, Jeremy currently has 1, 2, 3 ready foundations. As we talked about before, Puma is just one of those decks that if he can find it, he can just kill. And 18 health is not, that big of a obstacle to overcome. We can see the Mutant Machine in hand. You have to imagine if we enter an hand step, that is going to get built down.
Gigantification swing. This one is going to check a 3, so I'll have to commit 2 foundations to help pay for it. However, on play of the card, there's a response that your rival's next check gets -2. So it's kind of like a breaker that works both ways. It's a breaker that works on offense. I don't know if that's going to matter too much to Rodan, who's really good at putting the speed into the negatives. But every little bit helps. No reason not to press the response button.
And then Justin hitting the Puma response to draw 2 cards.
Yep, so we're going to discard, draw 2, and here comes that Mutant Machine. Once per turn, Pumat Soul can remove a foundation from the game and then build an asset or a backup from the hand. And there's very few assets better to build than Massive Mutant Machine.
Seeing this current line, it cannot be understated. Of course, I can't see all of Justin's hand, but it can't be understated how important it was that Jeremy sniped that pristine swordplay out of his hand. Because if Justin had that in hand as well, this would be a very, very scary turn for this Rodan.
Yeah, however, if there's any deck that can block a 9-speed move,
Sure,
Rodan
yes.
is the one.
Yeah.
It's typically going to take 2 Massive Mutant Machines to break through a Rodan wall.
All right, this is currently a 5 mid for 10. And Jeremy does have that -2 to his check.
Yeah, and with only 18 health left, being able to fail a block to get rid of the -2 penalty and then take 10 damage is not a great risk proposition here. All right, Jeremy going to opt to look at the top 2, figure out what he wants to check, what he doesn't want to.
All right, since this is his first attack, he does get to use the enhance on the foundation to give him +1/+1.
Yep, Undercover Infiltration is a nifty little one. We've seen it mostly for the deadlock, but it does give a little bit of stats to your opening attack.
This 6 for 11, essentially a 8 for 11 because of that -2 to check. Now, we did see Justin add that Bloodsucking Universe to his hand. Jeremy does have the Mikasa defeats the female Titan on his side of the stage, so that throw not being as scary.
Yep, both players deliberating over this gigantification swing.
And it looks like Jeremy is just going to take the 11 damage.
Oh, not even going to attempt to fail a block to get rid of the check hack. I feel like that's got to be a pretty big mistake here.
Yeah.
But it's really going to depend on whether or not Justin can ready that Massive Mutant Machine, because without that +5 speed, actually dealing damage to Rodan seems nearly impossible. And there's the pristine right there off the top. We were 1 card away from drawing it. If only we had had the presence of mind to Botons.
I think Justin recognizing that the Bloodsucking Universe is still very blockable because of Rodan's abilities, and that Mikasa defeats the female Titan on his side. that playing it probably would have generated no value outside of potentially attention. However, even in the defensive depth like Rodan, 7 health, you know, if Justin draws the right cards with those mass mutant machines, 7 health is, you know, very, very doable. Jeremy going to review the fill with doubt.
Yeah, most of the foundations in Rodan Stageway, they're purely defensive or face down at this point. But there is a lot Rodan can do with 1 momentum, or sorry, 2 momentum. So we might see something crazy here. But double substitute member. Ooh, and he opts to cancel the card draw. Very nifty.
All right, Jeremy going to open up with that aerial goblin bolt.
One of my favorite cards, maybe of all time, but definitely in the most recent years of cards printed. It's got Blitz to seal a rival foundation, and then you're going to get the ability to flip it in the card pool to cancel any enhanced character or otherwise. And so we have answered the Batra arrives, and now we can answer one of the sub members.
Just debating on whether or not to set the speed back down to 3. Opts to flip over that substitute member. Is the consideration here to just abort this attack and flip over that aerial goblin bolt?
Typically no. There's a few times where that is the play.
Well, it appears that's what he went with.
Interesting. Normally you want to get cards out of the rival's hand, but
Yeah,
because Pumat can commit 2 of your foundations when you when he goes to the block step, getting that card out of his hand might be more advantageous for you.
All right, playing a second aerial goblin bolt, sealing that other substitute member.
That definitely helps. You can definitely afford to abort a goblin bolt
If you're following up with another one, yeah.
if you have a second one.
Yeah. Given this attack, 3 speed with the Rodan, and then the 1/1 from Science Bros. Now looking at a 7 high for 4. And it's a situation where, as strong as Pumat's ability is to do exactly this, Breaker 2, and then
Force you to
commit 2 more, that is going to still deal half damage.
Yeah, luckily Aerial Goblin Bolt, the lowest damage attack in the deck. So
I wonder if it's also the lowest base speed, so that's why the block comes out now, because this one you can potentially block, whereas future ones will be just too fast.
Yeah, now we've lost all of our actual speed reduction. You probably were not going to get the opportunity to block again.
I don't believe I see any more attacks in Jeremy's hand. There might be one more. I can't quite.
If there's no other attacks in his hand, this is one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. I don't know what we were trying to get through. Maybe the one substitute member that got... I don't know. I don't know what we actually accomplished if we were really attempting to just play double Goblin Bolt offensively there.
Why flip that first one?
Yeah, I have to imagine that the Breaker 2 shut down the real plan there. But who knows? Maybe we're baiting out all the breakers. Once we know where they all are, then we can go in.
All right, Justin has... Is that 2 Bloodsucking Universes? deciding to open up now that that Armor-Clad Faith is no longer on the side of Jeremy, and we've already seen 2 Filled with Doubts come out of his deck. And then Justin choosing the Puma response, discarding a card, and drawing 2 cards.
Yeah, by the end of this game, it might just come down to how much throw hate can Rodan muster, because the lower this health total gets, the more likely it is that these blood-sucking universes are a real threat. Luckily, Mikasa defeats the female Titan is in the stage, but Batra arrives as kind of a waiting, you know, just sitting and waiting to cancel it. So this could be really, really dangerous for Rodan here.
Yeah, a half block here would not spell a game, but the second one that we know in his hand would if both of these hit.
Yeah, we did just get a peek at the Genkais in Jeremy's hand. So I don't know if Justin has an answer to the action main board or available to him, but Quenma's Task is an order card.
All right, Justin building in a second massive mutant machine. All right, hitting this at 16 damage. So this would be lethal on a half. I don't believe there's any other throw hate outside of that. Oh. What a play. Actually, we got the Dimension Sphere.
Dimensional Sphere does count as throw hate. It might even be super throw hate because now that throw is out of the game. Absolutely huge stuff here. Everyone forgets Dimensional Sphere has Void. I feel like I would see it more often.
Yeah, I think we're just going to get a build out from Justin after that. I think he only had one other attack in his hand.
And so Rodan, maybe not with explicitly throw hate, but with enough answers to Blood-Sucking Universe. Answers that get around Batra arrives, luckily. But now we've got Fighting for Control out and 2 Batras on Justin's side. So Rodan really has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, we've seen the strength of Rodan defensively, but now we have to see how he actually gets the kill with 17 health on Justin's side. Ooh, I don't think Jeremy drew a single attack. Jeremy playing the first form on original form. Sorry, optimal form. Getting an additional card draw. Justin choosing not to sacrifice Foundation to cancel its effect. I didn't see what he drew. I don't think he has a single attack in hand.
I did not catch it either.
Well, what we do know is that if he did draw an attack, he doesn't have any draw on board. Oh, it looks like we have a Violent Animus shot, and I think I also saw one other attack. Of course, we've already seen him play 2 copies of this card.
Yeah, Violent Animus has been just a really solid attack for all of its symbols pretty much since it was printed. I don't think it was very popular on release because people saw it mostly as a anti-backup card, and backup strategies just weren't popular yet. And there weren't enough decks that were capitalizing afterwards, you know, finding the kill after you play the Animus shots. But now the fact that it just guarantees that one card is going to leave your rival's hand is pretty solid for your game plan.
Just using the Batra Rise Steal that Science Bros. Speed coming from Rodan.
Yeah, Science Bro is one of the #1 Batra Arrives targets in the game for sure. You wanna seal the repeatable effects as much as you can.
All right, looks like Justin took this Violent Animus shot as well, and he is losing a Botan's coaching from its response effect.
This is maybe the most Violent Animus shots I've ever seen deal damage without the game ending like immediately after them. Because normally once the Animus shot gets through, it spells a disaster.
Yeah, we have the World's Weakest Hunter here. If this one hits, he will get additional draw. Checks the 3. Has to commit 2. Important note, we did just lose a mid block from our hand. And having EX3.
Yep, EX gonna pretty much guarantee.
We do have that substitute member, however, still on his stage to reset the speed back down to 3.
Now we're gonna go in for the block and check a 3, but that's not too big of a deal. We're gonna get Pumat response, commit 2 more of Rodan's foundations, and Rodan about halfway committed now. Couple cards in the card pool.
He had a second World's Weakest Hunter.
He's going to fight through the fighting for control. We're actually going to commit the 2 to pass it.
Still having 3 ready foundations. I have to... Well...
Oh, Deadlock coming in defensively.
Yeah, of course, that card having the flip, commit 2 rival foundations. Deadlock in hands.
Yeah, Justin Martin just casually sitting on the Deadlock in hands until the right moment here. Leaving Rodan with only 1 foundation left, and World's Weakest Hunter, it's an in-between attack. It's a setup attack. It's not the potent finisher, and now with only 2 ready resources, Jeremy's probably not going to be able to play an attack that clinches the game.
All right, Justin choosing to Botan's coaching.
Okay, Puma Enhance going to build in a Dottie, which does have a defensive ability, and we have the Roman cancel. If the attack gets above your current health, you can reset it to printed, which is not too bad.
All All right, it appears that Justin did take that world's weakest hunter. So Jeremy does get the additional draw. However, with all of his stage except for one turn sideways, I don't know how much more he can string out.
Yeah, I mean, even building cards at this point would be a pretty risky endeavor. Now we're going to take a look at the old discard pile here.
All right, taking the guaranteed Botan's coaching. Checking running threes, trading 1 for 1. And then going there. So Jeremy in a precarious situation now with just 2 Botan's coaching. We do know that he has that Genkai's guidance in his hand, so he does have an answer for 1 attack. That is more than 1 attack. Yeah, we see that Gigantification swing coming out once again. I wonder if Jeremy answers this one with the Genkais.
Yeah, the Genkai is going to be used here, but I got to be afraid of a throw now. I don't know if we have another dimensional sphere in hand or anything.
I did see a pristine sword play. In Justin's hand. I'm not sure I saw another Bloodsucking Universe. I think we've seen all 4 between checks and plays.
Yeah, but with double Mutant Machine and Dottie, pretty much any 2 attacks are going to be unblockable even for a Rodan. And Inventor's creation is almost certainly going to become a throw here.
Yes.
Justin does have to respond first on play, though. So Jeremy's going to know that it's a Bloodsucking and whether or not he needs to Genkais, and he shows that he does not have the throw hate. He does not have any way to deal with +10/+10. And we're going to be going to a game 2 with just about half of this round left.
Yeah, I just said I didn't see any throws in his hand, and Justin said, joke's on you. Inventor's creation is whatever I want it to be.
He created a throw. Who's the real science bro now, Rodan? So now these players are going to be going into their sideboard. You have to imagine if Rodan has throw hate, that's what's coming in. Massive throw hate, keyword hate. Is that the... Ooh, I think I saw a very special piece of throw hate there. One that not a lot of people are familiar with. It's a very unimpressive Dobby attack overall, but it's explicitly really good in decks that are trying to go like really, really long. And that's a Blue Flame Eruption. I think, oh no, that one's not on Void. Never mind. That's not the right one. Blue Flame Surge. All the Blue Flame cards have the same name in my head, but it's a breaker block, and if you block an attack with a keyword ability, it deals no damage. So it does function as throw hate as long as the throw actually has the keyword throw, and it's not one of those fake throws. It then also has the enhance to add a card for momentum to your hand, so it has a bit of a recursion element to it. But typically you just see it as like a throw hate option piece for a lot of these decks. So I think we saw that one. I'm not 100% sure if that's what's going to be coming in from the sideboard, but I do believe I saw that one, which should be very spicy if it comes up, because it's not even a played ability. You can't even cancel it. It's a static ability.
Now, of course, Justin taking game 1 after going a second. Justin now is in a position where we do see these Rodan decks wanting to go kind of late into the game, building out wide stages. With 27 minutes left, that first game taking more than half of the round, there is a situation here where Justin just says, okay, well, the onus is on you to kill me.
Right.
And we can just see this go to time because Justin, no stranger, playing, you know, kind of those control imprison decks, just locking his opponent up.
Yeah, Pumat no slouch on the defensive end, and Justin as a player definitely not. So it'll be really interesting. Now, normally a lot of times Pumat, as defensive as he can be at shutting you down, if you do get in, his low health total can be a bit of an issue there. We have Pumat showing as a 28 health, but Pumat's starting health is actually much lower than that. Oh no, it is 28. Am I? Oh, do we have it? I'm sorry. It's so hot in here. I'm delirious with how warm it is in Dallas right now.
It is very, very warm in here. Tam was gracious enough to bring us over some water.
Who am I thinking of that is like almost playable, but they're like 25 health? I mean, 28 is kind of low these days too.
Yeah.
So that's not exactly wrong. 28 is on the lower side of the health spectrum.
I remember once upon a time when I was playing this game where I thought it was absurd for 600 to have 30 health.
Right, yeah.
And now
630 was generally like, that was the stat line for All Might 3, and it
Yeah.
made him just like extra tanky in MHA 1.
And now that is just a regular.
Yeah. Now it's low. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now 30 is like, oh, so you're a squishy 600.
Yeah.
You're not a Godzilla type.
And again, I will say that although, Justin is kind of in the driver's seat here, if he wants, he can just play a defensive-minded game. Of course, if he sees the massive mutant machines and sees multiple of them, he could just end it in one fell swoop.
Yeah, I think for game 2, if I'm Rodan, I'm really looking for a follow-up to the violent anima shots. Because Justin was willing to take the violent anima shots. He was willing to literally roll the dice on the 1 and 3 to keep his breaker blocks and to keep his actual defensive interaction. And so I want to be able to punish that. I want to be able to find attacks that won't get breaker blocked after that. And, I'm looking for the tri-gravity beams, something, ice sword execution with 1 momentum, something to really land the damage after the violent anima shot opens the way.
Yeah. And we see that ice sword that you mentioned in the discard pile being checked. And it currently in Jeremy's hand, he's got an aerial goblin ball, world's weakest hunter, and that violent anima shot. Oh, there's a ice sword execution in hand. However, not as impactful with Justin building all 1-ofs currently. All right, opens up as we saw in the first game with that violent anima shot.
All right, here's the violent animus. If this deals damage and rips a card out of Justin's hand, what's the likelihood that we have like a real follow-up? Not the world's weakest hunter. I'm talking big damage. I'm talking a real payoff.
All right, speed getting reset on with the moment of normalcy, and then blocking with that.
Never mind. Justin said no more free anima shots.
Blocking with that excellent bug bite.
He said, this time I do have a high block, actually.
And it's a 0. Not having the momentum, of course, to ready his character up with that response from bug bite.
There is the world's weakest.
And I think you throw this one now, hoping it hits because Jeremy only has 2 other foundations in hand. He does want to build out and build wide.
Oh, he's going to hit him with the old deflect 3. Didn't even have to block that one. Absolutely incredible stuff. Justin Martin really showing off, like I was talking about earlier, like Pumat has really tricky defense, right? He's not like a defensive powerhouse, but he has just enough to win by those sort of slim margins, that a combo deck like this really wants to operate on.
Yeah, again, I think with access to, breaker blocks and Pumat's ability, I do think that while it's not quite the defense of a Rodan, Void deck, it is still something to have to respect.
Yeah, and realistically, it's one of those things where if Rodan just had the Science Bros a turn sooner, that 1 damage would have been enough to convert into some card draw. So, we're talking about slim margins within these games. +1 damage could have been the difference maker between Rodan having an amazing build and having a 2 build in a pass.
I think Jeremy having 5 attacks in hand, 2 Ice Sword executions, World's Weakest Hunter, Aerial Goblin Bolt.
Ice Swords would be great if we had a little bit of momentum. Instead, we're going to have to open up with this aerial Goblin Bolt.
On the 3, I think checks 3. Yeah, checks that Dimensional Sphere.
Going to seal the moment of normalcy that tripped us up last turn. Going to remove the Dimensional Sphere for just a +1 speed. That's okay. Aerial Goblin Bolt is not the attack that we really care about dealing damage. All right, -1 to the rival, it looks like, from the Inspiring Song.
Oh, you don't think he's going to +1?
Well, no, I really need you to pass this next one, this next attack.
All right, using the Puma.
I have seen like exactly the one scenario where someone was like, theoretically, what if I wanted to minus my check depending on what I checked, right? So I have seen it like one time.
Yeah, I think actually playing, testing against Wub, the first time I ever saw someone do that is I saw Wub do it to avoid Earthbreaker by committing his whole stage so that I couldn't destroy any of them with the -1 to the check.
Super funny,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like you want to check a 4, right? So if it's a 3, you want +1, but if it's a 5, you want -1.
Correct.
So you really have to wait, yeah. Yeah, I think he was the one who first asked that question actually in the rules Discord.
Yeah.
Was he's like, can I just wait to see? And the answer is yes. So we're going to build out a bit more here. Just going to draw back up the hands. I've seen some really powerful interaction pieces here. Order Symbol just absolutely stuffed to the gills with great interaction pieces. But on top of that, Good and Air have been some of the best attuned symbols in the last few sets here, last few products being printed.
All right, getting a second substitute member on the board.
And now Weapon at the ready means drawing the card I want is easier than ever.
All right. Jeremy reviewing that World's Weakest Hunter saying he still has too many attacks in hand. Appears that he still has 5 attacks in hand. Now with the wider stage, I do anticipate, seeing some at least poke coming out. We have that Megalomania coming on the 5, checks the 5.
Megalomania going to seal the Pumat. So you don't have to worry about random assets being dropped in. You don't have to worry about the fake stun 2 now. But you do still got to worry about Dr. Ichigaki.
Yeah. Or even the additional, card draw if Justin really wanted because he only has 2 cards in hand. I mean, with no other card draw on stage, this is an opportunity for Jeremy, depending on the checks. We do know he has plenty of attacks to at least put a dent in Pumat's armor. And we do know he does have that Ice Sword Execution in hand, so there is that actual powerful attack that he could use that he had been lacking up until this point with 1 momentum. Just using that Weapon at the ready enhance, removing the cards, deciding to stack that Monster versus Machine.
Yeah, funny enough, Weapon at the ready stacks a tech card on top of your deck, not a weapon card.
Oh, what draw am I missing?
I believe what do you fight for? Just flip draw card.
You're correct.
Yeah, good old Order Symbol. We're transitioning from 1/5 flip draw card to 2/5 flip draw card.
All right, Justin deciding to take that attack. Saying he doesn't quite need that Monster versus Machine just yet.
No, he's flexing the idea that he wants to draw it for next turn potentially, or he could draw it to block and breaker. But we got the Aerial Goblin Bolt now. It's almost certainly going to shut off that plan entirely. We're just going to seal the what do you fight for. So now he can no longer draw the 3 off the top of his deck. And this could be a little bit of a blunder if Rodan can start abusing the fact that Justin has a bad check on top of the deck. I just don't know if Rodan has the damage pump at this exact moment.
Getting 3 speed from Rodan, and then of course the one, oh no, Science Bros is sealed. All right, looks like Justin's gonna take that one as well, going down to 16.
Yep, easy 4 damage to take there on the 7-speed move.
Jeremy debating on whether or not he wants to play that Ice Sword Execution. I have to imagine if he does play it, that the target's going to be those substitute members. Yeah, here comes the Ice Sword Execution.
Ice Sword on a 7. Now we got momentum. Now we have a follow-up. Now we should be good to go. We can name substitute members, and that'll be like an effectively a stun 2. We can cancel the moment of normalcy. We can freeze something. We might have a little bit of traction here, and Justin still has a 3 on top of his deck. I imagine the Team Dr. Ichigaki is going to end up getting used here for something, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay, those substitute members, as we predicted, getting turned sideways. And of course, Megalomania giving the stats because of the number of sealed cards in the opponent's stage.
Oh, we finally got to 3 sealed cards? Because Pumat is sealed in the 1 Foundation.
Oh, maybe it is just
I think it's Science Bros.
Science Bros is sealed.
Oh, Science Bros got sealed.
Yeah, so where's the 1/1?
Huh. Oh, is it 3 sealed cards in
It
play?
might be.
Might not have to be rival
I'm gonna
cards.
bring this up.
Seal
In
your
place.
own card.
In place, yes. So there you go.
All right, little tricky there. A little tricky stat.
All right. Him choosing to use the moment of normalcy on the speed. So this is going to be 5 high for 11.
Yeah, I think
Two more speed.
I was going to say, opting not to cancel the Goblin Bolt, or cancel with Goblin Bolt, but Ichigaki can cancel the Goblin Bolt is what I think we're looking at here.
All right. Jeremy did flip the Goblin Bolt. I think to attempt to cancel that moment of normalcy. Okay, and it appears that Justin did, in fact, cancel the Aerial Goblin Bolt. Coming out on the block, checks the 3. Has to commit 4. Fully blocks that Ice Sword Execution. We do know that Jeremy has another one in hand, but without the momentum, not quite as impactful. Looks like it's just going to be a build out with that Armorclad Faith coming down.
Yeah, checking a 3 here on the build out was pretty rough after all the maneuvering and all the posturing and all the resources that got used. Freezing the Batch Arrives is basically all we really got out of that turn. We kind of went momentum neutral, and we got a little bit of damage. But I mean, little cuts at a time is how Rodan operates.
All right, we do. I see Bloodsucking Universe, pristine swordplay. Now we do have that cape and overturn. And then beside the Ice Sword execution in Jeremy's hand, I'm not sure what the other two cards are. I don't know if he has additional throw hate in hand. I think Justin just deciding whether or not he just actually builds out, stays defensive, doesn't quite see enough attacks, or if he's just trying to figure out what his sequencing is on this line, knowing that that cape and overturn is going to snipe. All right. Starting with that pristine swordplay.
All right, pristine swordplay as the opener is not typically what you want to see. Without a massive mutant machine to ready with the blitz, this card does lose a little bit of its impact, but typically that just means that Pumat's going to double mutant machine you or double pristine swordplay you. However, we also still have the Cape of No Return in play, which before we had the Ichigaki to go toe-to-toe with, but now we don't.
I think I see a Supersonic Flight, Ice Sword Execution. I can't make out what the third card is in Jeremy's hand, and we are getting a judge call on this one.
So while we have our judge call, while we have production going over there to figure that out, let me ask you, what do you think the likelihood that we're going to see a air symbol or good symbol deck on stream every round this tournament is?
I think it's very, very likely. I just think those are two of the best symbols in the game right now. Outside, I think the third best symbol in the game right now would be Void, you know. So
Void Rodan gets to abuse a lot of really good air attuned cards.
And so I do think we're going to see a lot of good air and Void being played this weekend.
Yeah, I'm a huge air fan. A lot of people know that. So I have been enjoying this resurgence of really, really strong air symbol cards. But almost all of them seem to be attuned, you know, the team heroes of the world, the substitute members. The actual air symbol, like hard locked cards, they typically share chaos or void. So a lot of those decks are now order, you know, a lot of those decks will be seen on good, order, void, chaos, etc. But I have seen a lot more main air symbol decks, which is very, very cool. So I've been excited about that.
Okay, it seems whatever the judge call was got resolved. Okay, Justin using that weapon at the ready to stack the tech.
Oh, it looks like we did not commit our own substitute member on Ice Sword. I was looking for that. I can't believe I missed that.
Oh, I see. Yes.
I can't believe I missed that because my favorite thing about Ice Sword is it's in all stages.
It's all stages, yeah, so including your own.
Yeah. So that substitute member is going to end up being committed throughout the Rivals turn. Unfortunate. We saw yesterday Jet perform it correctly where they named Batcher Rives and committed 3 rival Batchers, but one of their own. So very cool stuff.
So I didn't see what he stacked. I have to assume it's a monster versus machine because if he does go ahead and draw that card, then he will have an answer for Cape of No Return and basically force Jeremy to use it on that monster versus machine.
Right. Yeah. The ability to commit assets is super huge. Does Rodan have a way to stop the card draw this time?
All right, Justin setting, using moment of normalcy to set this pristine store play back to full speed. Jeremy using Rodan's ability right now. Take a look at his top 4 cards.
Yeah, it might have been a small misplay to use Speed Hate before the Massive Mutant Machines get used, specifically because of the reset play. Because if you use the Speed Hate after Massive Mutant Machine gets used, then a reset doesn't actually help Justin at all, and you do get the value out of that speed reduction. Also, Justin, I guess, you know, depending on if there was a minute or 2 time extension, Justin's really only got to survive for another 6 minutes.
Yep. And again, he did go ahead and draw that card that he stacked. Building in a Massive Mutant Machine from hand. So this pristine swordplay all of a sudden is a 10 mid 410. Basically saying, Jeremy, you either cape this right now or we were taking half your health total.
Yeah, trade offer. I commit Mutant Machine, you remove
Yes.
Cape from the game.
Yep.
That is the prop evaluation here, but it's not happening yet. Jeremy might have a trick up his sleeve.
Oh, and I do think I saw a second pristine swordplay in Justin's hand.
Yeah, like pristine Mutant Machine, or sorry, pristine Monster versus Machine into pristine would certainly be a pretty devastating move here. Oh, we're gonna opt to fail just so we have the Supersonic on top, which is a nice move. However, I think if this Monster versus Machine does come down that we're speculating on and commits the cape, that might have been not enough.
I am so confident that I'm actually just going to bring up Monster vs. Machine. And then, of course, be proven wrong. But
see the Inventor's Creation and Pristine. I don't see.
This is what I get.
Oh,
Hubris.
we checked the Monster versus Machine. We were close. We were close to it. It was on top of the deck, just not where we thought.
I have to assume then that the card he actually stacked must have been Inventor's Creation. That has tech as well, correct? So
Yes. Yeah. But it does not beat a cape. It does become a throw.
Versus player Skylar Creel. If you're in the room, we need to see what the admin does. Skylar Creel, please come see us at the registration admin desk.
All right. So this is now lethal and 10 speed. So it's going to eat the cape.
oh, and we have a third
gonna play
pristine
a third
swordplay.
pristine. Oh,
choosing to
wait.
fill without. Seal this one.
Filled without coming in hot and fast. Uh-oh. It might not be so easy after all.
I mean, this is going to end up being a 2-speed, a 1-speed mid for 4 damage. I assume after Rodan yanks this off the top. Okay. I wonder if we see the substitute member get played here to set this back to 3, giving it 2 more speed. Or if instead he just says, do you have the box zone?
I don't know if the 4 damage from this is super relevant, but with both Massive Mutant Machines committed, it very well could be. I have blood.
Incubating, make it a 0 blocks. Blessing Universe coming out on a 7, checks the 3, has to commit.
Yeah, unfortunate because I think if Justin checked 2 5s there, he actually has blood sucking into Inventor's Creation, which could potentially just be like 2 back-to-back throws. Still not sure where exactly we'd get the damage from at this point. Trying to decide on passing this into the armor clad face.
Choosing to let it fail.
Yeah, so the filled without keeping us alive throughout that turn. Pretty good stuff, but Jeremy now only has this exact 1 turn to pull it off.
Yeah, with less than a minute left in the round, and we know that Justin went second. If Jeremy cannot count to 16, Justin is going to take this round 2. All right, well, here's a good start.
Yep. Gonna name sub member. This time we're gonna remember to commit our own. Unfortunately. Remember that we got to commit all the copies in all the stages.
Yeah, a small price to pay to take away -6 speed. Or actually, it could be even more than that. So all of a sudden, this Ice Sword Execution is a 10 high for 11.
Yeah, 11-11. Make a wish.
Yep. Now, 11 high for 12.
Gonna freeze the Batra, makes sense. This could be a 1-1 tie at the very last minute. I think Justin might have overcommitted into the filled without last turn. Oh, checking a 3 on Jeremy's side.
Again, seeing another violent anime shot being played.
Seven high, 5. He lays it down.
Yep, there's the fist bump.
And it's going to be a 1-1 tie for Rodan versus Puma at the very last minute. And I mean, you heard the two of us. We really thought Justin was going to be able to pull that off. We thought he had the answer to the cape. It turns out not only did he not have the answer to the cape, he did not have the answer to the filled without, which made it not that big of a deal. So we end up with a draw. Unfortunate for, well, maybe not super unfortunate. You know, both of these players early on in the tournament, having a draw is not going to be the biggest deal in the world. So that's going to do it for round 2. However, we should have a couple of goodies for you all coming up here after round 2.
I think we're going to take a look at the...
I believe there's some alt arts. Yeah, I think we're going to have some alt arts from Tekken 8 coming up.
Yep, I believe so.
I don't know. Do we have actual reveals for Tekken 8? Do we have anything new to show the people?
My understanding is what we're showing new is these alternate arts.
Okay.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, look at these. I'm going to let you say the Yoshimitsu
I literally tried to point to you. So,
I'm going to let you say that one.
Yeah. Trail Pilgrimage.
Trail Yokia.
Yeah, Pilgrimage.
Trail Yokia Pilgrimage.
Yeah, the Terraforming Cannon and Frenemies. Again, we're seeing kind of that, like, you know, monochrome background with the bright hues up on the front in these alternate arts. I'm a big fan of this look. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are Terraforming Cannon sounds like an asset and looks like an asset. And I'm going to have to remind my opponent every single time that, no, this cannon is firing at you.
Yeah.
6 mid 6 for 6. Blitz, if you have 5 or more face downs in play, it gets 2/2, seems very, very easy. And if there are 10 or more face downs in play, it gets 5/5, sounds really, really exciting. But the card I'm most excited about here is Trilokia Pilgrimage. It doesn't seem very, very threatening as a 4 mid-4, but very similar to Pristine Swordplay. It's going to get a huge speed or damage bonus equal to the highest difficulty among assets that you have in play. And there, of course, as we just saw with Pumat Soul, some really, really good high difficulty assets. And on top of that, anytime you can splash Breaker onto a card feels pretty nice.
And then I cannot wait, as you mentioned earlier, for me to go up against a Puma player with this terraforming cannon and them accidentally try to build it into their stage.
Right, just remove a foundation,
Yep.
try to build it.
Yep.
Frenemies is also very cool and very long-standing rivalry between Lily and Asuka, and a block that I can play from my stage.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
I actually, unfortunately, one of my favorite cards ever got banned for doing exactly that, and they put the writer, if you do, you have to remove it for exactly that reason. So a little bit of targeted Sam Tate hate from the design team.
Not only that, but a 1 mid and Breaker 1 at that.
Exactly, and it doesn't say it has to be raid. It's not playability, so you can play. You can block with it while it's committed, which is very, very cool. But if you want to get your hands on these beautiful alt arts, you're gonna have to go to your local game store or order online. But it's gonna be available August 14th. That's less than a month away now.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I know pre-releases are starting soon, and we are going to get some early super pre-releases over at Gen Con at the end of the month, beginning of next month.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff. But let's look at what the players are going to be trying to get their hands on. Oh, we got the character breakdown. I didn't know if we'd had that yet. Rodan is the most represented. We've gone too far. We've fallen too far from grace. We have strayed too far from God's light if Rodan is the most represented character at a regional. But followed closely behind it is Anguirus. So you still have that sort of Godzilla aggro versus Godzilla control kind of setup. So very, very interesting stuff. Not surprised at all to see Pony and Armored All Might way, way up there. The Cabals of the world are enjoying both of those decks a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is more or less what we predicted. I think I'm a little bit surprised that while I thought Anguirus would be high on the list, considering that, I think I mentioned it yesterday, it is one of those decks where over the course of 8 rounds, you don't get the same mental load as some of these other decks. I mean, we just saw a matchup with 2 characters having to make a lot of decisions on every single interaction. But no surprise with Rodan, Pony, and Armored All Might being up there as well. Also no surprise, we talked about, Barrett brought up a couple times, the recency bias of Mitch deck just winning the last regional, and again showing a strong presence here.
The Zeke Yeager probably the most surprising thing to me. I thought that deck was completely off the rails, but I did just hear the call out for pairings for round 3, so we're gonna have to take a very short break while we get the next round set up for you guys. So please don't go anywhere. We're gonna be back with round 3 of the Dallas Regional very, very shortly.
See you soon.
Welcome back, everybody. We are jumping into round 3 at the Dallas Regional. I'm Bear Bryant, joined by not Sam Tate. Apparently, that last match was a little too hot to handle, so he's taking a quick break. But Tito, 3 in a row, my guy.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the desk.
I've been having such a good time. I didn't want to leave.
That's actually a good answer. I like that one. And speaking of good times, we've got a good time lined up for you all as we are ready to go into our round 3, and our players are jumping in. We've got. Let's kind of, pick up the pace here a little bit. Some aggressive decks. Nago Ryuki, which is our 2nd place at the Worlds, of course, character. And it's playing an aggressive combo deck here, going first against an Angerus. This sort of aggressive inevitability, all these power tokens. Makes a lot of sense. And as you guys kind of broke down in that the character breakdown, 2nd most represented deck here in the room.
Yeah, and as I said, a little bit surprising. I thought that it would be represented well at this event. I didn't think it'd be the 2nd most registered deck, but not totally surprised. And as you stated earlier, this is a nice change of pace after what we just saw with 2 very control-oriented decks, defensive decks. We get, a little aggressive action.
And then, like we said, Nago Ryuki going first here. So, going to go ahead and open things up. Strategic meeting, going for this 4 build. Oh, I think we got it. Yeah, we got it. That was Fukio.
Yes.
For helping manage our blood counters. And for everybody at home as well, Trey C here piloting this Nago deck, 15 years old. Already currently 2-0 coming into this tournament, and now going to have to test his chops against another aggressive deck in the game with Angerus.
Man, love seeing young players and realizing just how old I am.
Yeah, I don't think about that part of it. Yeah, me as well.
We're getting a wide build thanks to the ability of Dumbfound, allowing it to ignore progressive. So at the very least, we get this 4 build.
Yeah, and still win for that 1 diff afterwards, but does fail. So 4-4 on both sides. Drawing up for the side of Trey. And we will have to see another build. Makes sense. 6 hand size. Sometimes you don't draw those attack cards. I wonder how many we're going to check here as there's 2 in a row. Double fighting for control.
Yep. Like all the best aggressive decks, build turn 1, build turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, who is it? I think it's literally Sam every single time he says it. Whatever you can do on 4 foundations, I guarantee you can do it better on 8.
Yes, 100%.
Or, insert number that you've played. Of course, committing Nago to pass a check there on some of those foundations because Nago doesn't do anything on your opponent's turn. And then here we have the first attack being played here. I'm actually a big fan of this one. I haven't seen this attack played since Byaku decks. Some of them were playing this one, but I can't remember its name. So
it's takedown.
It's a bunch of slashes or something. Takedown. You're right. Take. Boom.
Yeah, flying takedown. There it is. There it is.
Takedown. And it's a pretty simple one. It's just blitz, you mill, and then you get damage based off, or you mill 1, I should say. And then you get damage based off of the block modifier of that attack.
And of course, Anguirus is given stats on its face.
Yep. Being a 5 difficulty move. Our favorite packages of yore. Of course, City Rampage being eroded kind of has shifted what a lot of these decks look like, but very much like we said, even on the character breakdown, people still willing to play characters like Angerus because of that power token generation that he's very good at.
I mean, especially after we saw, what Calvatahan did at the last event on Anguirus making top 4. Even with Pony being so highly favored, going into that event and being high on everybody's radar, I believe he defeated 2 ponies on his way and then eventually lost to a pony, however.
Yes, yeah. I think it is kind of what players we talked about earlier already today about having higher health totals just mattering a lot more for players because as a 7 hand size character, you make one mistake, especially if you're bringing an aggro 7 hand size character, you sometimes just don't have access to a lot more defense that you are wanting to use. So just tailoring towards a 6 hand size version of that aggressive deck makes a lot more sense. But we did get the block that came through. We still took some damage
because that is a throw, and we generated our power token.
Correct. After that attack deals damage, I'd be surprised to see how many throws we have inside of this deck, but just going to build some more
on a 1, checks a 1.
As we weave it through because of the minus to our check. Maybe there will be another attack. We'll have to see. Looks like it. This is Crushing Leap, I'm pretty sure.
Crushing Impact, isn't it?
Impact.
Yes.
I could have swore there was a leap somewhere. I knew it was Crushing. One of these... I would say like signature cards. Obviously, this has Titan of Terrors. His whole gimmick obviously is very sideways to what Angerus wants to be doing. But getting extra speed for your power tokens obviously matters a lot more for what these decks are doing. And then it went ahead, and I think this is the alternate of it.
It is. This is also Crushing Impact.
Yeah. It's Crushing Impact, just the alternate one, because this one's he's going scree. You can see on the side.
Yeah, I may confession, I may or may not have been playing a lot of Titan of Terror before the errata came through. And so I have a playset of these Crushing Impact alt arts.
Of the alt arts?
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, they look great. I think a lot of the alt arts. I'm just sadly don't ever usually have a bunch of those. So, I don't ever know what they look like.
Yeah.
But this one has that extra speed, of course, in the 1/2 from Angerus. Symmetrical stats being very, very powerful. Going to be drawing a card here with that that foundation that has Nagaryuki's face on it from Guilty Gear Strive. Drawing cards.
Looks like this one's also going to hit.
Going straight to the face. Very quickly losing a lot of life. We'll get the life totals updated a little bit more, but yeah, going back down. And there it is. Looks like it's going to be just that afterwards. And of course, we'll have that 0 diff that should build down. We did build that one.
Correct, because we played it to clear that check.
Yes. So hopefully we'll get that fixed. But yeah, one more foundation on the side for Matt, but with only 2 ready resources as well as the character, this is going to be up to Nago. I mean, getting +4 damage on every single move is why this character is so thought after, especially the fact was once you hit that 4th blood counter, yes, you have to lose quite a bit of your life, 10 health, and then afterwards you will be able to selectively commit anything on your opponent's stage. But all along the way, you'll have given 16 damage to your attacks. Here it is at the ready. Going to have tension. It's a 5 mid for 2. This is one of the best ones that you can play in Nagaryuki because it already has 5 base speed. As I'm looking it up, I apologize, guys. It has a 5 base speed for 2 damage, which means it's a 5 mid for 6, 3 difficulty move.
Yeah, we actually saw this played a little bit yesterday. Also, it has that very powerful tension ability, get that Roman cancel. Especially when you're playing against a deck generating this many power tokens. It doesn't matter how many you shove onto attack if I'm just going to set it back down to 3.
Absolutely. Tension helping for defense as well. So this 5-speed move will be from Matt. See if he even wants to attempt to try and block with it. But, yep. Other big benefit of Angerus is that you can use your health in an advantageous area to generate more power tokens, as that response just says. After an attack deals damage, you to generate a power token.
Yeah, and most Angerus actually, this is what they want. They want to, take hits to the face. Maybe not massive ones, but
I always forget. Rap.
Spear Barrage? Thunder Spear Barrage. Thunder Spear Barrage. That's what it is.
I always try and remember the first word of all of these cards because I have to look them up in our database. Yeah, the best Echo move. I mean, this is the bread and butter of this deck because not only does it synergize incredibly well with tension, generating that Roman cancel token so that you can spend it for Echo here on the Thunder Spear Barrage, but this is again, very fast, 3 difficulty, 2 damage move that you can even modally change the stats on it by its Blitz ability, and then you just challenge your opponent, hey, do you have a high block? If not, let's go ahead and send it through.
Yeah, especially in so many of these decks that just add a ton of damage on top of it, because then you don't have to bring the speed down. Its base 5 speed is enough. You bring it down 1, 2. It's very flexible in what the situation is asking for.
And then because of the Echo here, going to be playing that, and because these attacks are such low difficulty, we did check a 3 on it, but just commits 1 foundation, and we're back off to the races. Once again, moving the stats a little, only doing a -1 speed for +1, really finding that sweet spot of wanting it to be at exactly 7 damage, which, I think the control of what you choose to get rid of, again, you can only get rid of 4, you can't get rid of all of it, but you can at max take away 4 speed and put it into the damage for this Thunder Spear Barrage.
Yeah, Matt taking the time to read the character again. Of course, Trey is playing that alternate art that I love from that Guilty Gear set.
Yeah, I think all of them are great. Do you have all 9?
I do. I have them all in a binder.
I don't have the Roman cancel token one.
Well, I think I have an extra one with me.
It's okay. No, it's okay. It's all right. Sadly, I was not able to go to any of the pre-releases, which is where you could get that one. But I did open all the other characters from the set.
Yeah, so I have them lined up in a binder.
9-page.
Yep.
Looks so good.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember the first time Hitch showed those off, and everyone was like, "Wow!" Like stuff like that is really nice for this game because we have such beautiful artwork. The creative team does such a good job.
Hot take. I think we should do more of that.
I don't think that's a hot take, actually. I think there are some people that don't like the textless cards.
Sure.
But I don't think that's a hot take. I think people like to see pretty pieces that there still exists other game objects for. All right, going to be finally use that foundation there to manipulate the stats a little bit more. So actually, this is only going to be for 1 damage currently, but we did have to use some of our power tokens to do so.
And I will say we do see a little bit more of that kind of interconnecting art in the Reina Kaiju set because that Monster vs. Machine has the alternate art where they connect to form one scene.
Echoed copy going to go over. Then we're going to form with a strategic meeting. Now, this one does not have enough keywords, but I think it has to go to momentum no matter what. Oh, no, I guess we get to keep the check. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was in May. I thought it wasn't. But yeah, so we're just going to build out afterwards here. There's that battle holds the answers. Helps us pass some checks later on, even defensively, of course. Wait, no, it is your turn. I made that one.
Oh, correct.
I do remember. I think so.
No, it's definitely your turn. So it's one of those situations where, and that's what the beauty of the Team Hero, the decks are still running Team Hero.
Yeah.
Being able to build that in on their turn, even though it's committed, they still get to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Not going to see that in this deck,
Nope.
though. Nago does not have a Team Hero
Nope.
symbol. But very healthy stage here versus Matt with only 5.
Yeah.
And then we have, this is the one I was really talking about this weekend because I feel like everyone knows how good Destructive Heat Ray is. But now with all of the power tokens that Angerus does accumulate, and based off of like what we've seen from the share of the characters in this tournament, people have kind of made a group decision that if you're going to be playing an Earth deck, it's going to be Angerus right now, and it's because he plays Destructive Heat Ray the best.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to selectively flip over basically anything in that stage. It's got to be that strategic meeting because we do have enough power tokens in our stage.
I mean, yeah, we've seen the strength of selective flipping,
we did pick
selective.
something else. We picked something else. I missed it. I thought we would have picked strategic.
We've seen the strength of the selected flipping, the selected committal, the selected seal. Like being able to manipulate your opponent's stage the way you want to is so strong in this game right now.
-2 speed coming in from the Fateful Decision. Drawing a card here, Fearsome Transformation for Matt. Makes sense. We do have that Sacrifice for the Cause built into our stage, so can hopefully turn some of these cards into even more damage. This is only a 3 base damage move, but we're actually going to go straight into the Dark Tournament. And so it's going to remove itself, and then we're going to selectively pick any one of our momentum and put it into our hand and draw a card. So even extra bonus stuff. Got to make a decision which we want. I would imagine probably one of those Crushing Impacts. Then we'll draw a card. Great action card, but it is very much a... You know, you need momentum for this card to work very well.
And at this point, with 5 power tokens generated already, a Crushing Impact would be so fast.
Inventor's Creation block here. This is always one of the good ones. It's not just good offensively because of you playing tension and echo attacks and throws in this deck, but it also works defensively if we have any sort of breakers in our discard pile. Low block, of course, for the full block, which matters, which means we weren't going to get the ready effect, but we didn't have anything committed anyway. So
And him selecting Breaker off of
There it
the
is.
Monster versus Machine.
yeah, so Breaker 2 will be added on to this stickered. Will be onto this Inventor's Creation. Breaker 2 for Matt, and with only 3 foundations and the character, it's going to be a little harder to play a lot of these 5 diffs because
That is the name of the game
That's
as
what
far
it
as this deck is concerned.
effectively on an 8 no matter what, which does mean if we check a 3, the turn will actually just end. So it is a big risk here for Matt if he wants to even try and continue pushing in.
Doesn't look like he has any 0 diffs for the easy clear of this check like he did earlier. Also, I still want to know what ended up happening with that 0 diff that he played earlier, why it didn't get built out. If it was just missed.
Yeah, I think so, sadly.
Or if there was an effect that we just... I can't imagine what it would be, but...
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is we should just have one more foundation, right?
Sure, yes.
Is the biggest part of it. But we do have a 1 diff that we're going to weave in here on a 2.
Alright, checks at 3.
So we're good to go. But again, now if you still want to try and play something afterwards, like the attack that we might have picked up from our momentum, it will be on a 7.
And it
There it
appears
is.
we are playing that Crushing Impact on the 7. Checks the 5.
Nice. So things did work out in the favor. He's still going to keep that Sacrifice for the Cause up, which means this could very quickly get very lethal because it will also get very fast because of how many power tokens that we now have. 5 total, plus 5 speed. Remember, it's already a 4 speed base move for low. We did potentially get a very powerful low block already out of Trey's hand with that Inventor's Creation. 10 low for 8.
So what do you do in this situation? Do you pump all the power tokens in here and go, hey, this is exactly lethal at this point?
I think Matt loses if we pass back. So I think this is very much I have to commit onto this. And so we have 8 plus 10 more damage.
It would be
so we can get it.
exactly lethal.
And then we have sacrifice if we need a little
Yes,
bit more.
correct.
And DR is not an answer because of the sacrifice for the cause, having that also very powerful responsibility on it. So I think this is the one that you send it. You just got to do some quick math. Your opponent has, 8 ready resources, 9 if you count the character, 1 card in the card pool. So with a 1 low block, how possible is this block? This is going to be on an 11-12 possible.
Well, it looks like we are going to pass back over, going for the block.
So it does connect, but yeah, we didn't unload any extra stats into it. And so the question for me is, like, if Matt feels comfortable being able to survive on the next one, because I think playing another attack is going to be a little harder.
Instead, we're building out.
On a 5.
Checks
We
4 or
check
5.
4.
On
as
a 5.
well.
All right, that one will build.
Hey, we do have 6.
Yeah.
We do the 6 checks, of course. Inspiring Song. Does connect with that crushing impact once again, so it'll go to our momentum. But passing back to Trey, you're pretty much, I feel like, at the mercy of just him not drawing attacks. I think I see 1 blood-sucking universe.
I think I might have caught 2, so...
Of course, we get a strategic meeting. No attack card there, but if we want to leave the check on top, as I have been very well educated now, that we're allowed to do that. It is a May.
Oh, no, you were right. It is just 1 blood-sucking universe in the hand.
Yeah. Which is not enough to get through 17, even with the +4 on Nago, and even with the selective committal that would come through out of it. And you would actually just put yourself down to 1. Not a very good idea, aside from having that Roman cancel token.
I think that's the value in playing this right now, is going ahead and getting that Roman cancel token. The other attack in his hand is a Big Fist Bash, which, of course, I have to assume is in there predominantly for the breaker ability on it. Whether it be of playing it itself, or even better, going with Inventor's Creation to grab that out of the discard and using that breaker 3 from it.
The best part about it, though, too, is that these Roman cancel tokens, if you just have a plethora of momentum, remember, you can actually zone change a thing to a mid.
Oh, that's correct, yeah.
So very cool synergies with Big Fist Bash, at least in this deck. I hope we get to see that at least in one of these games, that kind of cool tech. But also remember, the Bloodsucking Universe is going to gain us some life because of the counters that we have on our character. So I said if we do give this damage, we'll go down to 1. Well, actually, we would gain, I think we'll get 1 life back because we would be at 0 counters now. I mean, we're going to see it all unfold right here. So yeah, Bloodsucking Universe, because after it deals damage, you can gain 2. But if we would have still had the counters, we could have actually gained 4.
Yep.
But with that last trigger here on Nagariyuki, we're going to cut all the rest of our life, just like the vampire that he is. Going down to 1, and then with this 9 damage throw here on the Bloodsucking Universe, that gave us that Roman cancel token, unless it got canceled. Oh, the Armorclad Faith. We actually didn't even have tension on this.
Oh.
As I've been yapping this whole time. But it's just going to connect.
Matt decided to take all 9.
Yeah. And
generating another power token.
But with no Roman cancel token and also cutting ourselves down to 1, this is the worst case scenario, I think, for Trey, if we just can't get through with the Big Fist Bash. Now, that Roman cancel token might have even been his key to success, because we might have just used it to make it a mid, and then the Big Fist Bash would have helped us there. But not getting that Roman cancel token because of the Armorclad Faith is going to be massive here for the defense on Matt. And now it is up to Trey to play perfect defense, only being at 3. He's going to build out 3 more foundations.
How silly we were. I truly believe that if he passed back, that was just going to be game, and here we are.
That's the thing about 6 hand size. I think we're actually going to talk about this quite a bit this weekend, because based off of the opinions of production, we have a bunch of just aggro 6 hand size decks in the format, and that's just true. I'm not disagreeing with that. We're literally watching 2 of them. And that is the reality: is that you are a 6 hand size character. If you hold cards to block with and you don't use them, and those aren't attack cards that you didn't swing with before, you're only going to draw 3 or 4 more cards out of your deck. And the reality is that most of these decks don't typically go over 30% of their deck being attack cards. There's just a world where you draw 1 attack a turn.
All right, we do have the Growing Grasp coming out.
Uh-oh. That one's also a throw. And remember, we're at 3. It's going to get the +2 damage, putting it up to 6. And then, of course, it gets even more damage equal to a number of all card pools, which includes itself. So at least the 1 more. There it is. Going up to 7, which is lethal on half, +1, basically. And DR is not an option. There's the hand. There it is. There's the fist bump. Game 1 going to Matt, winning it on Angress, going second.
All right, so what do you sideboard in here if you're Trey? What's the answer you need here for the Zangiris?
Based off of that game, more orange ones. Which is maybe not a good answer, but
Sure.
ooh, they're in there.
Yeah, we see more orange.
There are some orange in there. And the reason I say that is specifically because the benefit of this Nago deck right now is Bloodsucking Universe is basically the only attack in the deck that is higher than a 3-diff.
Yeah.
And everything else is pretty much easier to play. The Monsters vs. Machines, the At the Readies that we saw, the Thunder Spear Barrage. So, like, passing checks and the amount of foundations that Trey had is great when you play defense. You don't really need them on offensive pressure. What you do need is to find attack cards and punish Matt every time he does go for those offensive swings and overcommits because his curve is significantly higher. You
Right.
need to take advantage of your low difficulty curve, and you don't need as many foundations to do so. We got to find the orange cards to make that happen. So that's kind of where I'm genuinely at, is just wanting to increase the ratios of our deck, at least in this specific matchup, because we've got to chew through 33 health.
Yeah. I do find this matchup really interesting as well because as him playing so many of these low difficulty attacks, as him stringing out, as we mentioned and we saw, Anguirus is just stacking power token, power token,
Yeah.
power token, power token. So it is this kind of balance of like stringing out, playing all these attacks in a row, but making sure that you don't leave yourself vulnerable by overextending for the crackback.
And, the restraint also there on Matt to, like, we were talking about the Crushing Impact.
Mhm.
If he had dumped all of those power tokens into that Crushing Impact, and let's say Trey did block
Sure.
it or full blocked it or
Yeah.
what, obviously we failed the block, so like that reality just didn't occur. But you have to now understand also as Trey that your character is actually a downside for you as you cut 10 health away from yourself every single time, and eventually Matt will just play one of these throws like we just witnessed at the end of that game or in the beginning of the game with the flying takedown and just dump all the power tokens onto that, and that will just be the end of the game. Throw Hate, though, is another option that we could mess with. I'm trying to think on the order symbol. There exists Animount. I know specifically, I think we saw the... I know an All Attuned in TMNT. I don't even know if anyone's actually playing this card. But, never mind. I thought I was better than this. I'm not even gonna bring it up because I've gotten myself. But yeah, I mean the idea is you need an amount of throw hate
Yeah, I
to
mean
survive.
we did see, I believe we saw Armor Clad Faiths, right, on his side, or is that
not on order.
no, not
right?
on order, you're right?
Yeah, Earth Void.
Yep.
For that one,
You're right,
sadly.
right.
Or like I said, in my other assessment of the matchup is you just got to race.
Yep.
And we're going first, so like you should be able to do it. Your 3 difficulty attacks are very, very potent. Most of Matt's good blocks are going to be on his attack cards. So, like, if you get Matt to block with his Crushing Impacts or whatever, you're going to feel better about you not having to deal with those. And they also have to be a 6-hand size character and draw them. Like, this isn't a Titan of Terror, right? Like they are not guaranteed to have at least one extra bonus move at the end of every single turn. So...
yeah, just going the best